There's one thing that goes wrong here. Fortunately, it hasn't in a while. When I log onto the computer, it calls my phone, and sometimes my phone doesn't ring.
Oh, wow.
And if my phone doesn't ring, then I can't get in. And if you do it so many times, it locks you out. But I have been showing up, quite frankly, later and later. I'm coming closer to Mark Haney time than ever before showing up here. It's like, why do I have to get here at 5:30 to sit here for 20 minutes again when I live a minute and a half away? I'll sit here and finish my coffee. At least Kachuk wasn't hurt at all.
I think there was a reason why he didn't look himself.
Why he couldn't skate?
Until the last 3 games.
Right. Why he couldn't skate.
Right. Ambient, that's a joke, right? I mean, come on. Please stop it. Just stop it.
Ambient, that's the dumbest. You say a lot of dumb shit in here. That's literally the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Well, don't, Ambient.
Don't bother. It's 5:59 in the morning.
Yeah,
I got to do 4 hours today, and I don't want to deal with dumbasses, okay? So try not to be one this morning. Good gracious. Do better.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
15 seconds. Forsling back behind the Panthers' net. Gus Forsling will hold it. The final set, 10 seconds. Down to the final 5 seconds. Reds rain down. Lord Stanley staying in South Florida. Last year was greatness. This time it's historic. The Florida Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
The Panthers do it. Now we'll see if Oklahoma City or Indiana can do it in hoops coming up. Thanks for being with us on this hump day. Let's get over it together, shall we? How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. Top of the morning to you, Mark. Of course, we both stayed up to watch the game. How much of the Cup celebration did you watch?
Very, very little. I don't mean to be a curmudgeon, but I don't, okay, they won. It's late. It's time to go to bed. I watched a bunch of post-game this morning when I got up, a lot of the interviews and that type of stuff, but I've got to be honest, I'm old. Well, I used to be able to do this really easily. I used to be able to go until midnight, 12:30, wake up at 5 o'clock and just go. David Sampson floors me. The fact that, he's around our age and he still operates on 3-4 hours of sleep. You doing football season, operate on 3-4 hours of sleep. God bless the both of you. I can't do it.
Well, a couple of days I do, but don't get me wrong, Mark. I work in some naps though. I do, but yes, I'm able to get up, do the show, and then go back to sleep. But it's funny. I guess the Panthers were just better, right? We could overanalyze this, but they were better. They were deeper. They had better goaltending. I mean,
yes.
they were better.
They were better.
Yeah. This was pretty simple at the end of the day. Okay. For as terrific as McDavid and Draisaitl can be, the Panthers wore them out. The Panthers wore them out. The last 2 games of the series, those 2 guys didn't have much left.
They were just better.
Yep.
And, you know, part of, and I shouldn't start this way because we should just be praising the Florida Panthers. But part of the reason I started openly rooting for the Panthers in the final, and I didn't know. I mean, I picked Edmonton. I said I picked Edmonton. I was rooting for Florida. I don't know. I don't have any deep ties to the Florida Panthers. I have deep ties to the Lightning. I actually worked in their organization many, many, many years ago. But I have no deep ties to the Florida Panthers. But when you go to the first intermission and the Florida Panthers are leading again decisively and have basically won the game in the first period, and I have to listen to 15 minutes of Edmonton Oilers television intermission reports. Oh, I mean TNT intermission reports. Enough already. I finally in the postgame, they praised the Florida Panthers a little bit. But goodness gracious, I kept hearing how Edmonton did this wrong and Edmonton did that wrong and Edmonton can't do this. How about the fact that the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions are great? 3 years in a row to go to the Stanley Cup final. The core pretty much intact for all of them. Barkov, the best defensive forward in the game. You know why? He's won the Selke. This isn't Mark Miller talking. They've given him the Selke a couple years in a row for the best defensive forward in the game. Bennett and Marchand doing things that hadn't been done since, 73, David?
Correct.
In the Stanley Cup final?
Correct. And then I don't know when's the last time with Reinhart adding 4 last night. He ended up with, 6 or 7 in the finals as well. And I don't know when's the last time a team had 3 players score 5 or more goals.
No team had ever led for more accumulated time in a series than did the Florida Panthers in this Stanley Cup run. It was historic what they did from the standpoint of scoring, from the standpoint of leading, from back to back. What the Florida Panthers did, if they would have been the Pittsburgh Penguins or the New York Rangers or the Detroit Red Wings or the Chicago Blackhawks or the Colorado Avalanche or the name it,
Boston Bruins,
praised nonstop by those on the panel. Instead, it was, oh, what did Edmonton do wrong this time? Wayne, I get you played for him. Biz, I know you apparently hate America. But geez Louise, come on. I was getting more annoyed during the intermissions than I was getting fired up that I knew Florida was going to close it out. And part of both Miller and Moulton quietly wanted a game 7 because we never want hockey to end.
Right. Wife did ask that this morning. She goes, did the Panthers win the cup? I said, yeah. She goes, so that means it's over, right? Yes, honey. That means it's over. They don't play another game that counts in the standings for 3.5 months. Okay, good to know. But hey, I'm just wondering, state legislators, they propose a lot of things, and politicians oftentimes propose silly things in the name of sports. But I'm just wondering, would it be silly if someone in this state proposes, I don't know, something having to do with hockey in the name, that maybe we should put it on some of the, instead of welcome to Florida, okay, Governor Ron DeSantis. Okay, since DeSantis is term limited, he's only got a couple years left. Would DeSantis be gracious enough to take his name down off of some of the welcome to Florida signs, and then we could, say, because this is 6 years in a row that a team from Florida has been in the Stanley Cup Finals, and it's 4 of the last 6 that a team from Florida has danced with Lord Stanley. I mean, I don't know. Is the Sunshine State in trouble? That's all I'm asking. Is Sunshine going to continue to be able to fight off hockey? Is what I'm asking. Or, will always be known as the Sunshine State, but, can hockey make its way onto a couple of those welcome to Florida signs? That's all
cute.
I'm wondering.
It's cute, David. It's cute. As much as I've bashed state legislatures across the country for doing asinine things in terms of sports, I hope not.
Okay.
But I would think it would be cute. Now, I would say this, David. It would be cute of all of the signs that say the Sunshine State, or the blue highway markers that don't, they're not telling you an exit, they're just welcoming you. Welcome to the Sunshine State.
Right.
If they crossed that out and put hockey above it for a couple of months, that would be cute. That would be cute.
Do you think the authorities near Sunrise would be okay with a little graffiti? If maybe we just crossed out Sunshine, okay, and then with some spray paint underneath it, wrote hockey. Do you think they'd let that go for a few weeks?
That's exactly how it should be done. It's a spray paint cross out with hockey. That's exactly how I would suggest to do it. But goodness gracious, the Florida Panthers, the coronation last night, they dominated right from the word go, like they had throughout the playoffs, and particularly in this series where they owned the first period. Edmonton never was able to recover.
They scored at least 2 goals in the first period of all 6 games. One game, they actually scored 3 in the first period. They outscored Edmonton 13-4 in the first period of these games. 13-4. Only one time did they not have the lead. They actually trailed in game 2, 3-2. And that's really where the series changed. They lost game 1 in overtime because they committed a penalty late in the overtime and Edmonton scored a power play goal. And then Edmonton, 2 of their 3 goals in the first period of game 2 were on the power play. And even though you're right, Mark, Wayne Gretzky spoke about the Edmonton Oilers most of the time. And he did say before the series started, well, obviously I played in Edmonton and also my brother's an assistant GM with the Oilers, and I would love for him to get his name on the cup. But Gretzky was the one that basically said the Panthers need to stay out of the box. And if the Panthers stay out of the box, they'll win. And for the most part, the Panthers stayed out of the penalty box the rest of the series. And when the officials decided that they were optional last night, I mean, they were not needed. They decided we ain't calling anything. There were blatant penalties early in the game. And when they let them go, both sides knew, okay, we're on our own tonight.
Yeah, and I thought the early penalties were on Edmonton, actually.
I did too.
And they didn't call them.
Nope.
But to me, early in the game, Edmonton came out on fire. They had 2 or 3 really good shifts. And about 3 minutes into the game, they're having a terrific shift. They get a shot on goal. It was not a quick whistle. It wasn't super late. And I don't remember the Edmonton player, but he made a pretty good jab at Bob. And the Florida Panthers attacked him. And I said out loud, my wife was sitting next to me, and I said, ooh, they just woke Florida up. And from that point on in the first period, Florida scored a minute and a half later. They started having a little jam to their step, and Florida dominated the rest of the first period.
So last year it was 7. This year it was 6. The Panthers, they have 3 key free agents. We'll see how many of them they're able to keep. But they'll bring a good portion of this core back next year, trying to do something that hasn't been done in over 40 years, and that's lift Lord Stanley 3 years in a row. So hats off to the Panthers. They matched what the Lightning did at the beginning of this decade. Lightning did it kind of in reverse. Lightning won the cup, lost in the finals, 20 through 22. Those last 2 years, the Lightning beat the Panthers in the playoffs on their way to going to the finals and or winning the cup. The Panthers learned from it, changed their roster, changed their coach, changed their methodology, And then the Panthers lost in the finals, won the cup the last 3 years.
Great
Miller and
show
Moulton.
lined up for you today. Steve Carney will join us. We'll talk some Rays with him. Pat Kirwan, as always in the summertime, to talk the NFL. Seth Everett, his usual slot, and John Forslund to put a bow on the Stanley Cup.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yes, EB, Bob is back. It's Ekblad, it's Bennett, and it's Marchant that are the 3 free agents. Bennett, probably DC. Marchant's 37. Great. There's a million teams that would want what he brings to the table, but I don't think it changes the NHL's power structure, if you will. Besides, it looks like Florida's going to keep 2 or 3 of them. Wow. It's a loud grunt.
EB Bob is back. He's under contract.
Yeah, we got all of those. Thank you.
Okay. Phew.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes after the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Early nomination for a poll question, Mark. Are the Florida Panthers a dynasty? Does this count as a dynasty? Does back-to-back 3 straight finals, winning 2 in a row, does that fulfill the requirement? Or kind of like when we discuss Hall of Famers, do they walk right up to the door, but they still have to knock, ask permission, and pay to get in?
Well, I think that they are, particularly in this sport, in the salary cap era. It's a hard cap. And yes, you have the long-term IR in the playoffs, which they use for Matthew Tkachuk, and many teams have used it. It's not going away. The league doesn't want it to, by the way. If they did, they would have ended it. They could have. But I don't know how in today's NHL you can't look at 3 straight championship appearances with 2 cups and not say it's a dynasty.
Speaking of long-term IR, the Panthers put someone on long-term IR in mid-February coming out of the Four Nations tournament. They put Matthew Tkachuk. And with he and his robust salary, which I think is around $9 million a year, on long-term IR, the Panthers were able to fit both Seth Jones and Brad Marchand's prorated contracts underneath their cap for the rest of the year. And then obviously both were key contributors in the playoffs. And some wondered whether or not Marchand's injuries, and he was clearly injured in the Four Nations. I mean, he tried to play in the final against Canada, could only go for like a period, sat on the bench for the last 2. He had a groin injury of some kind, and he was having trouble skating. That we could see. But you always wonder the extent, Mark, of some of the guys' injuries who go on long-term IR and then just happen to be ready to play the first game of the playoffs. Isn't that fair to say?
Yeah.
You know, Vegas has a couple guys. They've gone to the finals twice, and all of a sudden some guys were ready to go. Tampa Bay did it a couple times, and then all of a sudden some guys were ready to go in the postseason. Okay. So after the game, did you hear the extent of Tkachuk's injury?
Well, and look at, Darren Pang, good job on the follow-up. Because Matthew Tkachuk said he was hurt during the playoffs and then went on and talked a little bit. And Darren Pang just simply said, well, can you elaborate on what your injuries were? And Matthew Tkachuk says,
yeah, well, I tore the abductor off the bone. And
I had a hernia thing too.
On the same side. So I didn't know if I'd be able to start when the playoffs started. I'm sorry. I don't exactly know what tearing the abductor or off the bone is, but Man, does that sound painful. Tearing anything off the bone. I mean, I went at a Publix chicken last night, grabbed it with both hands, and just sunk my teeth in it, just ripped some meat off the bone.
Big difference. That chicken was dead and had been cooked.
Right. But I can only imagine if that chicken were alive and could have responded, what it felt like to tear the adductor off the bone. Whatever the hell that is. Man! And here we are going, Matthew Tkachuk only looks like about 70%. I mean, he doesn't look the same.
No. I said several times he can't skate.
Right?
And I wasn't joking. He wasn't skating.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't hardly able to cross over. He was pushing off on one leg. He didn't have any jump at all. It was obvious.
It was.
Now we know why.
Mark, I still think he's favoring that groin a little bit. Well, so what was wrong with you? Well, I tore the adductor off the bone. And could you just hold this microphone? I have to now. I'm going to get into the fetal position for a little while I think about that. Fortunately, Mark, it's not a physically demanding sport.
Exactly. I mean, there's no hitting, no requirements to exert any energy.
Right. It's not a sport with a bunch of quick bursts, and then you get about a minute or so rest, and then you got to go back for another 30 to 50 seconds and go full speed, and then on skates, sticks. There's not a lot of skill required with the necessary toughness. This is why there are certain sports fans that have a little problem with load management. Okay, this is why. Tore adductor off the bone.
Right, and a hernia, as he said, and a hernia thing
on the same side. Golly.
Because it all started out, Darren Pang asked him how different this one was. And he opened up right away and said how much tougher this one was, how much he appreciated this one more. And then he started talking about the doctors and the trainers and all of the people who don't get talked about, how important they were in his return. Torn abductor off the bone. Hernia on the same side. Didn't miss a shift throughout the damn playoffs.
Near the end of this thing, you start to look like yourself. You look better these last few games. I'll tell you, it's and they always talk to the media. Okay, very rarely do they ever disparage us when we make our stupid comments and we ask our stupid questions. And they must be thinking to themselves, do you have any idea? You don't, do you? Do you have any idea what I am doing and going through just to be able to play?
But it is the culture of the sport. They've heard from a very young age the stories of the great players before them who have played through different levels of injury. And it's a badge of honor in the sport to play through injury. And what's amazing is they do it at all levels. They do it from the time they're junior hockey players through their time in the National Hockey League.
They're also not drawing a salary during the playoffs. Now, they get a playoff, the more successful you are, there's playoff money. But they're not drawing a salary during the playoffs. I don't know. That's why some of us talk with such reverence about Lord Stanley and winning his cup, because we just think it's It's amazing what these guys go through and what they will sacrifice to try to win.
And now the Panthers have done it back-to-back, putting them in very rarefied air in the National Hockey League.
Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up for you. Some news overnight in the world of college football. We will share coming up on the other side. Dramatics in baseball. You know, this Caitlin Clark girl seems like a marked player. Every time she plays, seemingly she's just knocked to the floor a few times.
David, I had that game on another TV last night, and there were times that the WNBA game was more physical than Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floormeisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floormeisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floormeisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
So I've got it worded as the Florida Panthers' run of 3 straight Stanley Cup final appearances with back-to-back Stanley Cups enough to be called a dynasty. Absolutely pump the brakes. You good?
Yes.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes to the top of the hour. Steve Carney in an hour to talk about the second place and playoff-bound Rays. The season ended today. Pat Kirwan and Seth Everett join us in our 8 a.m. Eastern hour. And John Forslund to get the bonus hour started, looking back on the Panthers going back to back. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
Panthers led 2-0 after 1, 3-0 after 2, 5-0 until late in the third. Florida, 5-1 win to beat Edmonton in 6 and repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Panthers dominated the first period in this series, scoring 2 or more goals in all 6 games and outscoring Edmonton 13-4 in the first period. Sam Reinhart had 4 goals last night. Wow. That hadn't been done in a Stanley Cup final, I think, since Maurice Richard, at least in a clinching game. Bobrovsky with 28 saves. It is remarkable. A Hall of Fame goalie can be as good in the playoffs as he's been the last 2 years and not win the Conn Smythe either year. Sam Bennett and his 15 goals won the Conn Smythe. Carter Verhaeghe with 3 assists last night. Barkov with 2 assists. McDavid and Draisaitl a complete non-factor. Completely worn out by the end of the series. Barkov skated McDavid pretty much into the ground in Game 6. Free agents for the Panthers, Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, and outstanding defenseman Aaron Ekblad. They can likely afford to keep 2 of them. To keep 3, I don't know if there's enough hometown discounts that can be given. They'd likely have to trade somebody who just helped them win the cup. By the way, Canada's drought continues. A Canadian hockey team has not lifted Lord Stanley's Cup since the Canadians in 1993. In fact, the stat still remains. The last, well, how shall I phrase this? Mark, an NHL team has not won the Stanley Cup in the last 30 years, but an American team has won the Grey Cup. The Baltimore Stallions in 95 won the Grey Cup more recently than a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. That's got to hurt.
If you want to really dig it into Canadians in general, think of the number of times, and I don't have the list in front of me. I know the team from my hometown did it a year ago, but there have been several American teams in that same time frame that have won the Memorial Cup, the biggest trophy in Canadian junior hockey, and teams south of the border, that are now in that league,
right,
have won that trophy.
You got to give it up to Corey Perry. He's 40 years old. He's played the last 2 years for the Edmonton Oilers. 5 of the last 6 years, Corey Perry has played on a team that went to the Stanley Cup final. And he's been on the losing side of the handshake line all 5 times. The 2 times the Lightning won the Cup, he was on Dallas first, then Montreal. Then he switches over the Lightning. The Lightning get beat by the Avs. Then, he's got a year. He had some issues. Okay. He was nearly knocked out of hockey. Last 2 years, he's been with Edmonton. And they, of course, have been beaten by the Panthers. Now, fortunately for Corey, early on in his 20-year career, I think his 5th year of his career, he won the Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks. But he's been in the final 5 of the last 6 years and has been on the losing side of the handshake line all 5 times. By the way, I do just want to throw this out there. I thought TNT did a tremendous job. I think their hockey coverage is so much better than ESPN. To not, and I don't think I missed it. I watched, I rewound, I watched it again. To not have a shot of Connor McDavid at all, and any of the players greeting him or what have you going through the handshake line, I thought was a huge miss. A huge miss. College football news last night. Brett McMurphy reporting that the conference commissioners are, and I quote, starting over, unquote, on what the college football playoff format is going to be beginning in 2026. Now, they have a December 1st deadline that they have to come up with something new, or else in theory, the system that we have for 2025 and the number of teams that we have in 2025 could remain intact going forward. December 1st is the deadline. But apparently, the 4-4-2-2-1 format that the Big Ten and the SEC wanted, where they would both be assured 4 bids, and the ACC and the Big 12 would be assured of at least 2, and then the group of 5 school would get 1. That's dead. The ACC and the Big 12 have said we're not going to sign off on it, and for that matter, as we found out a few weeks ago at the SEC media functions in Destin, the SEC coaches are against it also. So 4-4-2-2-1 is apparently dead. So we just going to go with the top 5 conference champions and the next 11 best at-larges? I mean, I don't know. I think personally the Big 12 and the ACC are making a mistake. Because like last year, if you go to the best at-larges, the Big 12 would have only had 1 team, Arizona State, in a 16-team playoff last year. The way the final college football playoff committee poll was, even though it was a really salty conference, their schools were just on the outside looking in. And the SEC would have gotten 6. And that's why the SEC football coaches are like, yeah, can you just leave the 11 spots up for grabs? And we'll grab as many of them as we can every year. The hell with those other guys. Now, the ACC would have gotten 3 teams last year. So do with it what you will. Baseball. Marlins snapped the Phillies' 5-game winning streak, beating them 8-3. Not the biggest story in the game. Mark, did you hear about the Nick Castellanos controversy?
I am aware of it, yes.
So Castellanos plays every day. Now, we're not talking about a Cal Ripken streak here, but Castellanos has played in 236 consecutive games. The night before, he gets taken out in the 8th inning for defensive purposes, and apparently coming off the field says something to the manager. Well, the manager benched him last night for what he said. And that's exactly why he benched him. He said, he said something completely inappropriate, so he's benched. So he snapped his consecutive game streak. And when Castellano was asked, and he said, I guess he didn't like what I said, so I didn't play tonight. Okay. Be curious to see how this goes. Castellanos is not a star, but he's a respected veteran in his 4th year with the Phillies. Be curious to see how this plays out in the room, as they like to say. Manager Rob Thompson.
Castellanos and his quotes. I think Castellanos crushed it with what his quotes are. I think it's over. He said, I wasn't happy about it, spoke my mind. He said that I crossed the line, so my punishment is that I'm not playing.
Yep.
He addressed it head on. I think it's over.
I do too. Okay, the manager's had good success. Players seem to like him. Goodness knows they've played hard for him the last 4 years. But worth mentioning. Mark, this just in. When the Mets play the Braves in Atlanta, Who almost always wins no matter what the standings are?
Well, that would be the Braves.
Correct, Mark. And last night, the Mets took a 4-1 lead to the bottom of the 8th, and the Braves won 5-4 and 10. Why? Because they're the Braves, and the other team is the Mets, and the game was in Atlanta. Braves, Ozuna with a bases-clearing double in the 8th to tie it. Acuna made a great catch, top of the wall in the 10th to help save things for the Braves, and they win it in the bottom of the 10th. The Mets have lost 4 in a row. Orioles beat the Rays 5-1, snapping Tampa Bay's 4-game win streak. They remain 2.5 back of the Yankees, who not only lost for the 5th straight game, they got shut out again.
David, that's 3 straight shutouts. In the history of the Yankees, this is only the 7th time that has ever happened. They've been playing baseball since like 1902.
And one of those shutouts was an 11-inning game. They've gone 29 scoreless innings. They've scored 5 runs in their last 6 games. Unreal. Toronto's 3 back of the Yankees. They rallied in the 9th inning. Bichette and Barger hit back-to-back solo homers to win it 5-4 over Arizona. Mariners. Cal Raleigh's having himself a year.
Man, is he ever.
His 27th home run last night. It was a salami. He had 6 RBIs. Seattle 8-0 over Boston. Seattle's 4.5 back of Houston, who beat the A's 13-3. Cam Smith, the big-time prospect they got from the Cubs in the Kyle Tucker trade. He had 2 of Houston's 5 homers last night. Royals 6-1 over Texas, snapping a 6-game losing streak. Dodgers with 5 in the 6th beat the Padres 8-6. San Diego's now 5 back. Giants fall 3.5 back. They lose to Cleveland 3-2. Devers, by the way, standing ovations every at-bat. He went 2 for 5 with an RBI double.
And you know what? Screw the ovation. Screw the 2 for 5. The only important story about him is that he took grounders yesterday, okay? He took grounders playing first base. That's the story yesterday.
And he said to the Giants, I'll play wherever you want me.
You're damn right. That's the story. Do not kid yourself.
Tigers 7-3 over the Pirates. Javi Baez with 2 homers. Unbelievable. Reds rally to beat the Twins 6-5. Minnesota's fallen all the way back to 500. They're now 10 back of Detroit. The Reds have won 3 in a row. Cubs beat the Brewers 5-3. Suzuki and Crow Armstrong each homered. Cardinals 12-2 over the White Sox. And the Rockies have won 3 in a row for the second time this year.
Break them up.
I think Dave Martinez is in trouble in Washington. They lost 10 in a row. He's been there a long time. Colorado 10-6 over the Nats. College baseball, UCLA had a bad day yesterday. They were in the winner's bracket when the day started. They lost the suspended game to LSU 9-5. Then at night, they lost to Arkansas 7-3, and they're out. Louisville eliminated Oregon State 7-6.
Great finish. Oregon State scored 3 in the top of the 9th to tie it. Louisville then won it in the bottom of the 9th.
Louisville and Coastal Carolina play today. Coastal only needs to win once. Louisville needs to win twice. Arkansas and LSU play today. LSU only needs to win once. Arkansas needs to win twice. WNBA, Caitlin Clark with 20 points. It was a very physical game with Connecticut. There were technicals, pushing and shoving. Clark got thrown to the ground.
Got her eyes gouged, got knocked down a couple of times. Then player defended her by knocking down another player.
Right.
There were 2 legit scrums. They weren't fights. They were scrums. A little pushing and shoving. A lot of players gathered together in the WNBA game.
Indiana, however, with Clark a winner again, 88-71 over Connecticut. Our buddy Carl Semesco's Atlanta Dream Team blew an 8-point fourth-quarter lead. Ionescu with 34. The Liberty improved to 10-1 with an 86-81 win. Minnesota improved to 11-1, beating Vegas by 14. Angel Reese had 17-10 in a Chicago Sky loss last night. Paige Beckers with another big game. Dallas picked up their second win. They beat Golden State by 9 and Seattle by 31 over the LA Sparks. And finally, Tyrese Halliburton officially diagnosed with a strained right calf. Yeah, we could have told you that. He's undergoing an MRI. He says if he can walk, he'll play in Game 6 tomorrow night. And as we approach 7 minutes before the hour, that was the starting five. 5 big stories, and Caitlin Clark being treated just like everybody else here on Miller and Moulton.
Her coach went to the microphone and said, "I'll address any questions about the officials," and then proceeded to rip the officials for the next 30 to 45 seconds, basically saying everyone's getting better except for the officials. And Caitlin Clark's facial expressions, because she's sitting right next to the coach in the post-game presser, her facial expressions are worth watching the coach's comments, because she looks like a teenager making smart aleck comments the entire time. Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Ream Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. I've been a customer for over a year and cannot say enough good things about their service and communication. If you're a business owner, you can trust Molly Maid to do an exceptional job. Their expert team delivers tailored cleaning for whatever your needs, ensuring a pristine environment for clients and staff. Visit mollymaid.com/FT-Myers or call 239-418-0052. Molly Maid makes my home shine, and it will make your home or business shine too.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right, quick Twitch poll. You can only pick one team. And I don't want you waiting to see what other people's answers are. I want you to simply type in quickly. Doesn't matter the sport. What team do you want to lose the most? So I found a article here at the hockeywriters.com because I was trying to figure out what they get for the Stanley Cup. Apparently, NHL players are paid year-round.
Oh,
Their contracts go July 1 through June 30, but they
Gotcha.
don't get anything extra, obviously, for the playoffs. And when I tell you what, and we can do this here, what the playoff bonuses are for winning the Stanley Cup, I think people would be surprised. Fun, thank you. Looks like in a quick poll, Ohio State, the winner of the team you want to lose the most. Well done.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. We get over it together with the football magic numbers being 71 and 78. 10 weeks tomorrow. The college football season kicks off in earnest with 16 games on that Thursday heading into Labor Day weekend. 11 weeks tomorrow. The Eagles host the Cowboys and the 2025 NFL season gets underway. The NHL season ended last night. The Panthers going back to back. They've been in 3 straight finals, winning the last 2. Is that enough to be considered a dynasty? That's our poll question of the day. Absolutely and pump the brakes are your choices. Right now, Mark, 5 and 8 of you think absolutely that's a dynasty, 63%. 37% say pump the brakes.
I say it's a dynasty, particularly in the salary cap era, particularly with a hard cap in that sport.
And during most of the last 3 years, the cap hardly went up $1. I think this year was the first time it went up more than $1 million since the pandemic.
So, David, you said something earlier in the show. It caused me to do a little research on the fly, that hockey players don't get paid in the playoffs. That's kind of true. They don't get any extra money for the playoffs. I didn't realize this. I thought you were 100% right until I found this article. Apparently, the contracts in the NHL are July 1 to June 30th.
Oh,
So
wow. They get paid year-round.
And
Oh.
I did not know that. I learned something because I always thought what you said was right. But would you I don't have this year's numbers, but I do have last year's numbers. Now, what I find funny is that they have it, each of the 23 players received a certain amount. It ends up being more than that because they carry more guys and some guys don't get full shares, etc. But based on 23 players, would you care to guess what winning the Stanley Cup earned each player last year?
I would like to think it would earn them 6 figures. So $125,000.
No, actually quite a bit more. Each of the players received, the pool was $6.5 million. So from a 23 player standpoint, they each earned around $284,000.
Oh, okay. So $284 for the 2 months.
The losers got $164,000.
Okay.
Now, I have baseballs from 2 years ago when the Texas Rangers won the World Series. Each player received $506,000. That's a pretty solid little bonus. In the National Football League, according to the NFLPA that the Chiefs each earned $164,000 just for winning the final game, but they made an additional $338,000 for their playoff run.
So they get money for each round they win. So you add that up, that's right around $500,000.
Correct.
Now, also, we're talking 23 guys in hockey. We're talking 26-man roster in baseball. I don't know. They throw in a few extra people. Let's just say 30, okay, in baseball. But you're talking, obviously, here in the NFL. I mean, you're talking between mid-50s and possibly, 60-something players getting a full share.
And in basketball, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised.
You mean with only 15 guys on a roster?
That they made as a team, this is from the 2023 year when the Nuggets beat the Heat, they made $7.8 million, so that's around $520,000 per player.
So Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA, all around $500,000. Hockey, half of that.
Yeah. I'd say that's pretty good for hockey when their television numbers pale in comparison. Now, I'm not talking ratings. I'm just talking dollars they get from the league.
Right.
Pale in comparison to that of the other sports.
Now, I believe the NHL gets a little over $1 million a year on average from their Canadian TV deal. Or I should say $1 billion a year, a little over $1 billion a year from their Canadian TV deal. They get $700 million from their US TV deal, $400 million from ESPN and $300 million from Turner. So you add it up, and I think they generate just under $2 billion a year in television revenue, or what NBC pays for Sunday Night Football.
That's one way to put it.
Right.
That's one way to put it.
In fact, I'm pretty sure every single major media rights owner in the NFL pays more than what the NHL gets from their entire TV money deal, but that's a whole other point. Miller and Moulton on this hump day.
Yeah, just a little bit of the money for the playoffs. I'm curious today, David. I have a question for you, and I don't normally do this, but we do our show very differently than most shows. We talk about things that other shows don't talk about. Today's an off day in the NBA, and most of the other networks need to talk about the NBA a lot. They won't talk about the Stanley Cup hardly at all. You'll hear more Stanley Cup talk today on our show than you probably will combined on the national shows for the rest of the day. How big of a story is Caitlin Clark getting beat up all over the court going to be today? Because trust me, not everybody was watching the Stanley Cup final last night. I was on X. There were more people that I were following on X interested in Caitlin Clark getting beat up than were about the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup.
Well, I do think that this is a topic that is worth discussing. Does the league have a problem? Like, as a fan, as someone who is observing from afar, do you think that the players' grudge, jealousy, dislike towards Caitlin Clark is different than it is towards any other player in that league, number one?
I think without a doubt, 100% yes. And I'm going to say something that I don't think many people say. And I watched Caitlin Clark. I had the game on one of my TVs last night. I was paying attention. I watched when they beat New York over the weekend. She lit it up. She was phenomenal. There was a stretch in the second quarter that was amazing. She's really cocky.
Yeah.
I mean, she is really cocky. And I love it. I am not knocking it. But if if we judged women's sports like we judge men's sports, and that's what they want us to do.
Well, that's what they say until we do it, and then they don't like the negativity. And that's the God's honest truth. Because when women's college basketball started to be covered the way that men's college basketball and the NBA is covered, people in women's college basketball freaked out. Oh, we don't talk that way. We don't cover the sport that way. Well, you can't have it both ways. If you're a mainstream sport, this is how we cover you. So what do you want?
If this were a men's sport and she was sticking her tongue out and she was rolling her eyes at everybody and she was acting the way she did in the postgame presser, she would get a lot more grief than she does currently in the WNBA. She is the face of that league. She is phenomenal. I love watching her play. But there is an arrogance to her game that if I were playing against her, I see where a player might want to take a shot. I do.
It's funny. Her game is likable / lovable. She actually is not on the court. Off the court, she's awesome. On the court, she's a punk.
Right. I mean, who does she get compared to the men's game? Steph Curry. I don't remember Steph having the same antics, particularly early in his career, that Caitlin's had coming into the league. And that's where the animosity comes from the other players. They've been working their tail off for 6, 7, 8 years, and Caitlin comes in, and again, she's phenomenal. I love her game, but she is cocky as hell.
There's no doubt there's a jealousy.
Oh, yeah.
Of the players who have been in the league and, all the attention she's getting and what have you, which is, those of us who were around for Magic and Larry and then Michael. Now, they were very physical with Michael because they couldn't stop him. It was the only way they thought they could stop him. But I don't remember the resentment towards Magic and Larry early on in their career that Caitlin, from Magic and Larry's fellow players, that Caitlin's getting from a good chunk of the rest of the league. I mean, is it jealousy? Is there a race component to this? I mean, and if you're the WNBA, do you just sit it out and let it play out? Or at some point, do you have to have a conference and basically say, guys, what the is going on? You do know she's the meal ticket. She's the golden goose right now. What are we doing? I mean, I'm curious. If you were running the WNBA, are you having a Zoom call at some point going,
with
what are we doing?
All the players? I'm asking who you have the call with. How do you do that?
I think you start with the general owners, general managers, and just say, listen, this didn't happen in the NBA. Okay? There wasn't this resentment towards Michael Jordan 40 years ago. Okay? They got physical with him because they couldn't stop him, but they didn't resent him. Okay? There's seemingly resentment towards her. There's negativity from the other players towards her that I don't think existed in the NBA for Magic, Larry, and Michael in the 80s.
I think the word you're trying to say, David, and you've skirted around it, is that they play dirty against her. They're cheap. She's getting cheap shots. This isn't hard fouls going to the basket like we all remember from the 80s and the 90s. This is getting shoved to the floor 10 seconds after a whistle. And the league has a problem, and it's on the inside because the other players, whether it's jealousy or hatred, they do not like Caitlin Clark one bit. American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Paula, you think it starts with Caitlin? You think it's her fault that she's getting knocked around? That's an interesting take. I've never really thought of her as a flopper, Paula. So to fix it, she has to change. The face of the league has to become boring in your estimation. Wow. All right. That's interesting. That's such an interesting take. I would never expect that take if she were a man, you guys. That's the one thing. So Paula and Puck Virtue think the only way to fix it is for Caitlin Clark to change the way she is. And my comment to them was, that's very interesting, because find me the guy that we said he has to change the way he plays. That's just a fascinating point. It's your opinion. I'm not even arguing with it. I just find it fascinating.
But Puck Virtue, if Draymond doesn't have to change his act, why does she have to change hers?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Steve Carney in a little more than 15 minutes time. How about those Rays? I think going back 4 weeks, they have the best record in Major League Baseball. We'll talk to Steve Carney about whether or not he thinks now they have the playoff legs to get there. Pat Kirwan, Seth Everett in our 8 a.m. Eastern hour. John Forslund to kick off the bonus hour to look back on the Panthers getting it done again. Back-to-back, matching what the Lightning did at the beginning of the decade. It's the third time in the last 10 years. The Penguins went back-to-back in 16 and 17. Before that, you got to go back to the late 90s and your Wings, right? 97, 98?
Yeah.
So, Penguins in the early 90s, 91, 92. And then obviously the Islanders in Edmonton. Islanders in the early 80s when they won 4 in a row, the last team to win 3 or more cups in a row. So Panthers trying to next year do something which hasn't been done in over 40 years. But plenty of time to get to that. John Forslund to join us coming up 9 a.m. Eastern here on Miller and Moulton. Our poll question deals with the Panthers. Is what they've accomplished the last 3 years. 3 appearances in the finals, 2 cups. Is that a dynasty? Absolutely, or pump the brakes? It's a different era now. It's a hard cap, the hardest cap, by the way, in major North American professional sports. And so do you consider what the Panthers, and before them, do you consider what the Lightning did? Now, the Lightning's run was longer. They went to conference finals in the teens. They went to the Stanley Cup finals in 2015. The Lightning run was kind of greatness at the end of nearly a 10-year run. Mark, put it this way. When the Blackhawks won 3 and 6, 2010, 2013, 2015, did you consider the Blackhawks run? And in 2009 and 2014, they lost in the conference finals. So, they went 5 out of 7 years to the conference finals, 3 times to the cup, and hoisted Lord Stanley all 3 times. Did you consider the Blackhawks a dynasty?
I didn't at the time, no. And if this were 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't consider the Panthers one. But given the fact that it's a hard cap, and now knowing what I know about the NHL, not that I didn't know hockey then, but to me with the hard cap and what they have done, it's a dynasty, a mini dynasty, whatever you want to call it. But you've gone to the cup 3 years in a row, won it twice. with a hard cap. You don't want to call it a dynasty? That's fine. I will.
By the way, do you want to forge a second poll question based off of what you? I know you got to do the Air Advantage best thing I've seen today here, but you brought up.
I do, don't I?
You brought up the Caitlin Clark. Okay, that that teams don't like her. Seemingly, most of the players in the league don't like her, and you can tell in watching the games, and she's treated differently than the rest of the players in the league. At least that's what most of us think. Then again, how many players are we watching besides her? That's a fair question. But
that's a much better question. I got this text, David. For the last 2 years, I pay for the WNBA package. I watch a lot of games. Last night, I watched part of 3 different games. I love watching the Fever. They play in my home state. That being said, Caitlin Clark talks a lot of smack, especially in the fourth quarter when she shot that deep 3 in front of the girl that hit her in the face. She was yelling at the Suns bench as she was backing up the whole way and ran around stoking the crowd. It was awesome.
And that's why I wonder, if you're the commissioner of the WNBA, do you do anything? Do you just say, guys, just let this play out? Let's enjoy it. Yeah, she's different. She is. She's different in a lot of ways, not just her ability to play, but her attitude's different. I mean, Mark, you mentioned that she gets compared to Steph Curry. I think she's Isaiah, because she's a scoring point guard. All right. Now, Isaiah didn't shoot as deep as her, but the game was very different when Isaiah played 40 years ago. But her attitude, I mean, if she plays like Steph, she acts like Draymond. I mean, that would be interesting. How would we feel about Steph if Steph acted like Draymond? I mean, come on. What mass thing? You loved Isaiah. You were a Pistons fan.
No, I did not. No. Isaiah was arguably my least favorite Piston.
Okay.
When he was their leading scorer, they usually lost. And, that great game that everybody talks about that Isaiah played on the bum ankle. Who won that game?
Lakers by 1.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, it was an imaginary foul on Lambeer that Kareem hit the 2 free throws on with 3 seconds to go, but that's okay. But those in the league at the time, what masked things for Isaiah for a long time? His smile. Okay. In the league, they thought he was a punk. Okay. And players didn't like him.
And he was a dirty player. He
Right.
was.
But
it was funny, with those teams, Mahorn and Lambeer and Rodman got all the bad boy image, but it was, even Joe Dumars, who was a nice guy, they would let guys go to the lane. Yeah, okay, go by me. Good luck getting in there. And Isaiah would chop guys. He was not afraid to hammer anybody.
Well, and remember when Karl Malone stuck his elbow intentionally right in the middle of Isaiah's forehead as he drove the lane? And I mean, opened up a gash in the middle of Isaiah's forehead. And after the game, Karl Malone basically spoke for the league and said, yeah, we're all sick of his blank.
Time for the coolest thing I've seen today, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to make this easy. It's brought to you by Air Advantage, myairadvantage.com, myairadvantage.com, or call today at 239-433-4635. That's 433-4635, 18 months, no interest, no payments available. Is there anything cooler than seeing Lord Stanley's Cup be hoisted in the air? But it wasn't just Barkov going with the low hoist. A video I caught this morning was Barkov in street clothes, walking back onto the ice with the cup, while all of the workers in the arena are cleaning the arena and doing their thing. He went down to the end of the arena where all the workers were by himself and hoisted the cup up for all the employees that were working in the arena. Cool gesture by the Florida Panther captain.
By the way, how about, because the captain determines who gets the cup second and what order, and Barkov decided, since they had a lot of guys who were on the team last year when they won the cup, that when he was done skating around with the cup, that the guys that would get it next would be the guys who were not on the team last year.
Awesome gesture. And guys who had not won it before, too.
Right. Right. They got it first, the first timers, because then Marchand and Seth Jones, boy, how about Seth Jones beaming? You spend all those years playing in Columbus and then on the Blackhawks when they're the worst team in the league. And you hoist Lord Stanley. He looked like
and Zito talked about it. He said a little lucky in the deals. He worked with Jones in Columbus. He knew him. There was history there. And there's always something when you bring a guy on board that it's nice to have a little background in some way, shape, or form, whether it's you, whether it's someone you coached with, that you have a relationship with. And boy, for Jones, you've got to feel great for a guy playing on all those bad teams to be able to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. That is the coolest thing I've seen today. Brought to you by our good friends at Air Advantage. Go to myairadvantage.com. Steve Carney to talk the Rays. That's next. Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Ream Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. I've been a customer for over a year and cannot say enough good things about their service and communication. If you're a business owner, you can trust Molly Maid to do an exceptional job. Their expert team delivers tailored cleaning for whatever your needs, ensuring a pristine environment for clients and staff. Visit mollymaid.com/FT-Myers or call 239-418-0052. Molly Maid makes my home shine, and it will make your home or business shine too. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
Attacked? I attacked you? I literally said those are your opinions and that's fine. Attacked? Come on, guys. Grow a set. Ah, there he is.
It's think alike.
There we go. Right as I'm texting you, you're popped up. I'm like,
I know.
I get nervous when we get down to that last minute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. It's just the producer and me on the show. The host wouldn't give a damn. The producer cares. How are you this morning?
Fantastic. It's hilarious that every time that I get the text from John Cassio, we're coming off of a loss.
Oh, no. I knew it. I knew every time we want you on the show, okay, that, the Rays are going to lose.
Yeah, it's almost like clockwork.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes to the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan, Seth Everett in our grade 8 hour, if you will, here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. John Forslund to get the bonus hour started, looking back at the Panthers, matching what the Lightning did at the beginning of the decade and going back to back. Our poll question, do you consider what the Panthers have done a dynasty? Well, you can ask yourself, 3 years ago, did you consider what the Lightning had done a dynasty? Yay or nay? Steve Carney, who's part of the Lightning Media Network, he also covers baseball for a living. For that matter, he covers armed services football. He's got about 7 tax forms that he has to submit every year. Okay, that's fair to say, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I would say the number of entities that are sending me either a W-2 or a 1099 seems to grow every year.
You follow Steve on X at Steve Carney, Carney. Well, okay, I know you don't have any love for the Panthers. Okay, but is this a dynasty?
Well, I mean, you think about what this means. This is now 3 straight years that they have gone to the finals, and now 2 straight Stanley Cups. As you mentioned, this echoes exactly what happened with the Lightning between 2020 and 2022. I would venture to say that what the Lightning did was a little more difficult because their first cup came in the bubble, and the second cup came after what was basically a short nap of an off season. So that was definitely very different of a situation. But I would venture to say that they are on the cusp of a dynasty. I don't think people would call what the Lightning did a dynasty. So I don't think I would call what the Panthers have done a dynasty just yet.
What advice would you give the Florida Panthers right now, having watched what the Lightning did and then watched the Panthers catch them and pass them, and now it seems that there's some pretty good distance between the two teams?
Okay,
Tampa's still very good, but obviously right now the Florida Panthers are the class of the league. What advice would you give them to stay there?
What I've learned from watching Julien Brisebois over the last 5 years is that getting to the top is one thing, staying there is completely different, and it's going to more for Panther fans as opposed to for the Panthers themselves, because I think the Panthers are very aware of this situation, is that to stay at the top of the salary cap era requires some significant gymnastics. You're going to lose a number of top quality players. The Lightning did it, when you lose Tyler Johnson and Andre Palat and Yanni Gourde and, Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow, all of these names that provided so much. You have to be able to lock down your core, which I believe the Panthers have been able to do with Kachuk and with Barkov. The question, I don't, because I don't follow the Panthers as close as I do with the Lightning. I don't know Bobrovsky's, contract situation, how many more years he's got left on his current deal. But I would think that those are the three names that you have to be able to keep in the fold, much like how the Lightning have done with Hedman and Kucherov and Vasilevsky. The rest of it has to, you have to have faith in your front office leadership, in your general manager, in your cap specialist to be able to put together a competitive team, a championship contending team on a cap. Now, it's going to be a little easier. I think the cap is going up significantly this year for the first time in, it seems like, a decade. I know it hasn't gone up during the pandemic years, and the NHL has kind of held it back. So I think the Panthers are going to have it a little easier than the Lightning did, trying to stay competitive. But I think you still have to do the gymnastics of the cap.
Steve Carney, we actually brought him on to talk about the Rays because since May 20th, they have the best record in baseball. They're 19-7. Steve, the last time we had you on a couple of weeks ago, we said, hey, Rays are playing better. Do you think they're a playoff team? And you said, no, not yet, because I just don't believe in the offense. Well, in the last 2 weeks, the offense has arguably gotten better. I don't know if it shocked you. It shocked me when I saw this morning they're fourth in the American League in runs scored and in the top 10 in baseball in runs scored.
Yep.
Is this just a nice stretch, or do you now look at the lineup because they've gotten a couple guys back and knock on wood, they've stayed healthy for an hour? Okay. Do you now look at this lineup and go, if they can stay healthy, they're good enough?
Yeah, I still think that the bottom third of the lineup does not give pitchers nightmares. When you've got Danny Jansen, Matt Tice, and Taylor Walls and Cameron Meisner in the bottom three, I still think that you could improve there, and you may still improve there. If Richie Palacios finally gets healthy. Ha-Sung Kim is supposed to go back on his rehab assignment here sometime this week, after having a hamstring pop-up issue, and then him coming off for 5 days, and they're going to reset his rehab assignment. You get Kim back, you get Palacios back. I think that really does strengthen the bottom of the order, and I think can certainly improve what they've done so far. Because I think 1 through 6, I think that they're as potent as any lineup out there, short of the Yankees and the Dodgers. I think they're a very good lineup.
Junior Camarino is a star, isn't he? I mean, this is a star that we're watching. It seems that every once in a while the Rays land one of these. How long they keep him is another discussion. But this is a budding star, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and he's so young, and so you would expect he would be the type of guy that gets one of these Rays specials, the team-friendly multiple-year deal with option years that can get him to 8, 9, 10 years with the franchise at the big league level. Kind of like the Longoria deal. Brandon Lau got one of these deals as well. They don't hand him out to a lot of guys, but the guys that they do hand him, and the guy that we will not mention, the right. Lord Voldemort of the Tampa Bay Rays, he got one of these deals as well. But Junior is, a different character when it comes to the way that he plays the game. Earlier in the season, he was hitting the ball on the ground a lot, was turning into a lot of double plays. We were joking that Jim Rice's record for double plays hit into in a season of 36 was in danger, especially when he got to more than halfway there. I think he's at 17 or 18 now. I think it's 17. But I think he's done a good job of making some changes to his swing, getting the ball more in the air, and you're seeing it leave the ballpark a lot more often.
He's Steve Carney. stpete9.com is his website, stpete9.com. He also has an Under the Orange Roof podcast, which is terribly named this year, but, we understand. Okay, follow Steve on X. It's Steve Carney, Carney. Okay, 5 more home games on this homestand, 2 with Baltimore, and what will be a very entertaining, could be a second-round playoff preview, 3-game series with the Tigers. By the way, what do you think about playoff games at Steinbrenner Field, huh?
If
the Rays are the 4 seed right now, they would host the Jays in a best of 3 starting tonight if the playoffs started today.
Yes, and if Major League Baseball wants to have games at Steinbrenner Field, I'm all for it. I hope that they can find something that will allow the Rays to do that, personally, because I don't want to drive to Miami or Atlanta to do games there. So I would like to have them here.
Wait a minute. You think there's a chance that they won't allow the Rays to host a playoff game?
I personally think that if it's the wild card series, yes, I think that they'll have that at Steinbrenner Field. After that, I think all options are going to be open by baseball. I mean,
So
I don't
you
have any insider knowledge to that, but it's my gut feeling that baseball would want, and just as someone that, kind of, has a head on his shoulders, baseball wants to make as much money with the playoffs as possible, especially because that's the money that they've got to split with players. So obviously, if you've got full size major league parks that are going to be unused within, 5 or 6 or 8 hours of a drive, Atlanta, will the Braves make the playoffs? I don't know. Will the Marlins make the playoffs? Probably not. So those 2 stadiums might be open. And I could see baseball saying, hey, this has been great for a 1 season in the regular season, trying to get 81 home games done. But in the playoffs, we want to have, 30 or 40,000 people in the stands, and you're not going to get that at Steinbrenner Field. It's just physically impossible.
All right. After this homestand, the Rays are going to enter the All-Star break playing 16 of 19 on the road.
Yeah.
And my co-host has said, I'm not picking the Rays as a playoff team even now, because I've got to believe they're going to wilt on the road playing 50-plus road games in basically half a season. Curious your thoughts. The Rays, after this coming weekend, it starts life on the road.
Yeah, this is the time of the year where guys are going to get their airline miles and their hotel points. Get a big kick in the rear end because they haven't had it over the first half of the season. They've been a really good road team this year, though. I mean, you go in, you sweep the Mets, and they've had their hiccups, but they've also had some very good road trips early on in the year. I think that they have the ability, especially as they get healthier, especially if they can get Shane McClanahan back in July, at the sometime by the trade deadline. I think that they've got a realistic shot of surviving this long. And we've talked about it all year, that this road stretch after the long, April and May, where they spent basically the entire 2 months at home, that they were going to have like 70 of their last 100 games were going to be on the road. This is a team I think that can survive that, because I think they play well on the road. They've definitely gelled this year as a team on the road, and I think that they could not wilt. Let's put it that way.
All right, we've got about a minute before a hard break, but we're 6 weeks away from the deadline. If you were running the Rays, well, first off, do you think the Rays will make a move? Because it's not always something that they do. If they were to add, where should they add?
Well, I mean, obviously you want to add the bullpen. My old friend Dave Wills used to say, just when you think you have enough pitching, you go out and you get more pitching. So I would certainly like another bullpen arm. That's for me. You know, I really think that outside of, you know, a pitching piece here and maybe a right-handed bat, I think those are the two pieces that the Rays still could use a little bit more attention on and an upgrade to.
He's Steve Carney. He covers a lot of different things, but we had him talking a little hockey because he covers the Lightning, and we had him talking a little baseball because he covers the Rays. stpete9.com. Don't forget, coming up in college football season, the Yards and Stripes podcast for Armed Services Football. Follow Steve on X at Steve Carney, Carney. Steve, all right, a belated happy Father's Day. And thanks for joining us. And if you're heading on the road, safe travels.
I will do so. It's always a pleasure, guys.
Steve Carney, kind enough to join us once again on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs here on Miller and Moulton.
Poll question is up. It's a very simple one. Are the Panthers a dynasty? 3 straight Stanley Cup final appearances, back-to-back cups. Is it enough to be called a dynasty? Right now, 57% of you say yes, that it is. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X to vote. Pat Kirwan coming up in a matter of minutes to talk the National Football League. Then our weekly visit with Seth Everett and John Forslund will join us in the bonus hour to put a bow on the Stanley Cup finals as the Panthers go back-to-back. All ahead on Miller and Moulton. Miss any of the show? Download it, millerandmoulton.com. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floormeisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floormeisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floormeisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. I've been a customer for over a year and cannot say enough good things about their service and communication. If you're a business owner, you can trust Molly Maid to do an exceptional job. Their expert team delivers tailored cleaning for whatever your needs, ensuring a pristine environment for clients and staff. Visit mollymaid.com/FT-Myers or call 239-418-0052. Molly Maid makes my home shine, and it will make your home or business shine too.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floormeisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller, or the David.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hello, Mark.
Morning, Pat.
I wait now till I see you plug in your headphones.
I always get you. I can't hear you until I actually put you on the screen either.
Headphone goes on and the right hand goes to the wall. And then I go,
that's it.
Now's the time.
That's it. You
Hit
got
it.
it down. You got it down.
It didn't take me but about 20 years. Not bad. I play football. Hello, David.
Hey, Pat.
How you doing, boys?
Good.
Hanging in.
I'm going to Florida on Friday.
Oh, how long are you going to be down?
4 days. I get those kids are in Ryan Vessey's tournament.
Oh, yeah.
God, I thought you were coming down to go fishing.
Oh, God, I'd love to, but it's not going to happen. Well, it could. We'll see. I got to take Friday off from work.
I'll get my mom to take your kids to hockey. I'll go fishing with you.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I have to think of the wrath of my daughter on that one first.
I know.
You did what? Do you know them? I go, I know Mark.
Kinda. That'd go over big. Try kinda. See what she says.
We've told the story on air before, Pat, but I don't think I've ever told you. When David and I when David was doing afternoons, I was doing mornings. We were going to a Blades game. Our kids were both really young. And his daughter was in here in the studio with him, and she had to sit here for 4 hours. And I just looked at him. I said, why don't I take your daughter to my house? I'll make dinner for her. She and Jake can hang, and we'll come back at the end of the show and go to the game. He's like, what a great idea.
Awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful.
His wife nearly killed him because I had the audacity to babysit his daughter for 4 hours and cook her a home-cooked meal.
Yes.
Here's
preferred,
the best.
She sits in the studio.
Right. Because, he's a guy, therefore he must be an axe murderer and completely unqualified as a parent. So here's the funny thing. I'm telling her this when the four of us, are we on our way to a Blades game?
Yeah.
Okay. And so Jake and Melissa are in the back seat and Mark's driving and I'm in the front seat. And so I'm talking to my wife on the cell phone and my wife is speaking at a volume in which everyone in the car can hear her. Okay. And so I'm just looking at Mark. Mark's looking at me and he's smiling. Okay. And the kids are just old enough in the back seat to understand what's going on also. So if I just waited till she was done and said, you do know he's got a kid of his own, right? He fed him too. He's watching him too. At which point the daughter in the back goes, Mom, he cooked. It was great.
Yeah. Backing me up, Dad.
Yep. I just said, I don't know what to tell you. The vote's 4-0 in this car.
Yeah.
We're going to the game. I'll see you later.
Yes. Did you then say to her, Mark heard the whole thing. Your rant was live in the car.
No, I told her that. I go, I couldn't lower your volume.
Yes.
It's my all-time favorite.
Well,
almost 20 years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
Was that basically what initiated your partnership as radio partners?
No, that happened. David did a show on Fat Tuesday about fat athletes. And I was in the car and I was laughing my tail off. And he was at a remote and I was doing sales. So I came back in at the end of the day and I walked in, Cassio's producing. I said, John, this guy, and this guy. And John goes, sit down. And David and I did an hour. And that to me was a start. David has a different version, but that was for me.
Love it.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
We are halfway home on this hump day, although it is the final hour of the show in Lake City, Live Oak and surrounding areas, Port Charlotte, Venice and surrounding areas, Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us in June and July once a week, right smack dab in the middle of the week. You know, Pat, NFL Radio's moving the chains weekdays 3 to 7 during the season. Well, he does the show also on Saturdays. And then from Sundays, he's in New York and producing the NFL Today on CBS. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. First off, Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's the time of year, as you know. I'm still breaking down position groups, but it's also a time. I mean, I was entertained this week by quotes. That made my week. Mike Tomlin's quote: "We want hot practices. It wasn't hot enough in the morning, so we're going back to the afternoons. The more miserable, the better." That's so classic Pittsburgh Steelers. Chubba Hubbard, "We can be a Super Bowl team." I laughed at that one for a while. Bradley Chubbs was revealing when he called our culture a farce last year, a farce, and said we were lying about that. Hopefully this year's better. But my favorite kind of led me to a research project yesterday by Lamar when asked, "What about your contract?" And he said, "Highest paid sounds real good." And that led me to look at his deal. And I say this to you guys a lot. This is the time of year you got to look at 2026 and ask yourself, what are going to be the salary cap ramifications? I found 4 teams, that their top 3 players are going to be over 40% of the salary cap. They cannot sit and let that happen. They're going to have to modify them. And those teams, of course, are Kansas City, 49%, Baltimore, 44%. This is great. It's okay if you're good. Dallas, 43%. I'm rounding these off. And Detroit, almost 43%. Those guys are going to have to do some modification. That's how, when you're in pro personnel, you look at teams and go, who's going to get chopped here? So I think Juwan Taylor in Kansas City, he's the 3rd highest paid. So the top 3 guys, they really need to be 30% at the most. And in Philadelphia, the world champions, their top 3 guys in 2026 are going to be about 25% of the cap. That's what makes them great, that they can handle all those star players with that. So that's what I do.
And Detroit just re-signed a bunch of guys, so that means renegotiations there. But for Dallas, Pat, they still got to sign Parsons. So, I mean,
yeah,
that could be, when they sign him, their 3 guys percentage could go even higher, couldn't it?
Yes. Now, it might be 2028 when that happens, but because, well, he can actually easily trump. The 3rd guy is Tyler Smith. Yeah, he could move into that spot, and that could go to 45, 46%. Just, you don't even have to understand football or anything else. You gotta pay 53 guys at a practice squad plus the injured reserve, and 3 guys are taking over 40% of the cap. That's why I look at that stuff this time of year. I don't have time for it during the season.
Listen, we all like Lamar. Okay.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah.
I love Lamar. I do. I love watching him play. He's a great guy. He has been off the field as well. Doesn't have an agent, negotiates everything himself with the advice of his mother. I mean, there's a lot to like about Lamar. There really is. And they adore him in Baltimore. But they just redid his deal, which is just now kicking in. And come on, dude. You can't be talking about making more money when you haven't gone to a Super Bowl, never mind won one, can you?
Well, I would say, and I agree with you, but I would say to him, we are interested. See, 2026, which is 1 year away, he's going to just alone by himself, be almost 25% of the cap. So that he knows they're going to want to get that number down. But I would definitely tie, you want to be the highest paid guy? The only way to the highest paid guy is to win the Super Bowl. So we're going to build something, but to get you over the top, you got to win the Super Bowl. And I think that's a fair request if you want to be the highest paid guy.
Pat, let's go back to Bradley Chubb's comments that we were lying about the culture change last year, because McDaniel has come up and he's been talking and we're going to hold guys accountable. A Tiger doesn't change his stripes, Pat. I don't know how McDaniel expects to hold guys accountable and change the entire culture when it's the same guys and the same coach, Pat.
Yep, I agree with you. So we talk about, at least inside the building. We always talk about the voice in your head. And when you start to lose, that voice goes off. If you're a bad team with a culture issue, that voice goes off and it goes, well, here we go again. And you have to break that cycle. Pete Carroll's in the middle of trying to do it at the Raiders. Talked to him for a while this week. Very excited about now, but he knows this is the springtime. But if you don't have the ability, this is right to you, Mark, about breaking the culture. If the messenger is the same guy, can he guarantee that the voice won't go off in their head? Here we go again. And I think sometimes that's why there's a change of, who's in charge. And that's why I think the three of us kind of like New England to some level, because we think Vrabel can break that cycle. He's dynamic leader. So, yeah, it is absolutely tied to that. If you have a bad culture, it's very hard for the same coach to fix it. That's just my opinion.
I also, it's interesting if you look at New England and you look at the Jets, and if you traded either coaches or helmets, how would we feel about the Jets? I mean, let's face it, the Jets can have a good team and we still look at them a little wonky because, well, they're the Jets. I root for a baseball team. It's the same way. When the Mets are good, it's tough to take them seriously. Why? Well, they're the Mets. I'm curious when you look at the Jets, if you compared rosters, Jets roster to Patriots roster, Justin Fields to Drake May at this stage of their development, how different do you think the Jets roster is than New England's? And nobody's talking about the Jets being any better than third, and a lot of people have them in fourth.
Yeah. Again, you're really challenging the leadership part, because if you swap Vrabel, I think the perception, and I like Aaron, but Aaron hasn't done it. Mike has done it.
Right.
I think people would see the Jets in a brighter light. Now, they still have to go out and do it, and that voice still might be in their head, but I think Vrabel's the kind of guy, really, to Mark's first question about this, and I saw it with Parcells. Parcells came into us, and the same guys, and they said this on the show before, we're the number one team in penalties, Rich Kotites last year. Number one, most penalties. We don't have any cap space. Parcells comes in. We have the fewest penalties in the league with basically the same football team, because they didn't get Curtis Martin yet. So I saw what happens when there's a leadership change. And I'm not a guy who wants to fire coaches, but if you tell me that you know that your problem's culture and the voice of here we go again, then leadership change is probably what I would recommend.
And we will go through it this year with lots of teams, and I think the Dolphins are very high on that list. Pat, we've talked about this a few times, and Liam Cohn's in Jacksonville, and, he's done wonders with quarterbacks. And he's taking, I think, some of the pressure initially off of Trevor because he's putting it on himself. But how do you fix a quarterback? I think between Liam Cohn and Ben Johnson, and I don't know if Ben has to fix Caleb Williams. There's things that have to be fixed. But Trevor's going down a run, whether it's injury or a downward spiral, that mentally I think he has to be fixed. How does a coach do that?
Well, I think he's got to be honest with him, and he's got to and privately be beating him up a little bit about what he doesn't do well. And I would say this, and this really relates to Brett Favre, which lands up turning into the Trevor Lawrence answer. They're damn lucky they're in small towns, because Trevor Lawrence's performance in New York, and there's a reason there's all these New York rejected quarterbacks all over the league now. It's a place you can get fried. Just what Trevor did, if he was in New York, it wouldn't have been good.
Hey, listen, if you take a look at Trevor Lawrence's stats and Daniel Jones's stats, they're identical. Identical. Actually, Jones may have better stats. Jones took a team to a playoffs, won a playoff game. Trevor took a team to a playoffs and won a playoff game. They each had their moments. They each were first-round picks. Their stats are identical. Pat, if he was in New York, they would have buried him.
Yeah, and that's why I bring up Favre. Favre goes to Green Bay after their one stop in Atlanta. He goes to Green Bay with my buddy Ron Wolf, and it's a forgiving town. They're patient, and he throws a ton of interceptions. if we had gotten him in the draft and he came to New York instead of Atlanta/Green Bay, we would have had a hard time keeping him on the team. And maybe that's what Sam Darnold's all about. Maybe that's what Geno's all about. Maybe that's what Sanchez took the team to the playoffs, but he ran into a guard once and the media destroyed him. So where you are is part of the answer for survival, and who's coaching you is part of the answer for survival. That's why I'm not so sure about Chicago. That's a rough town. And they've already
it's a really rough town on quarterbacks.
Yep. He better show progress immediately, like significant progress.
Well, and fair or not, because Goff was a, quote, veteran and had taken a team to a Super Bowl. But if Ben is struggling to take Caleb to the level that he's supposed to be, okay, then Caleb's going to get compared to Goff, and Caleb's going to get blamed, not Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson took Goff to an elite level. So if he can't take Caleb to an elite level, it's Caleb's fault.
Yeah, I think so. When Mark brought up Chicago and him, and I said, I can't dispel that pressure point is going to be there, and they got history that they will run the quarterback out of town, and they'll run the coach out too.
Thank you.
They're not afraid to blow up the place. That's who Chicago is. They can't
That's
get a
why
stadium.
I said a long time ago, I think Aaron Glenn's going to have a better head coaching career than Ben Johnson, and they're both in tough spots. But if Caleb doesn't work, Johnson gets run out. That's the way it goes in Chicago.
Yep, and they've done it so many times in the past. And you know what? They can't get that stadium. Let me add that to it, David. That stadium deal, if you're failing with the quarterback and the coach has lost his luster right away, the stadium thing is going to be part of the equation now.
I just wonder if the GM gets sacrificed first and Ben Johnson gets a shot with a second quarterback, because he's proven he can do it. I'm just curious. I wonder if Ben has a little more time than we think. More with Pat Kirwan on the other side.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, man.
All right. So how long's the tournament they're down for? Just a few days?
Yeah, Friday there's a meet and greet thing over at the Hyatt, and all the college coaches and the prep school coaches are there because these guys, it's Colin's team. So Colin is going into 8th grade. So a lot of the prep schools are trying to recruit him, Mount St. Charles and all the other guys. and then Saturday they start their games. I think they play 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and a final game on Monday morning, like at 8:00, and then everyone's running to the airport, which I can't do because I can't get back to New York in time to do the radio. So we'll just stay over and go home on the Tuesday morning 6 a.m. flight. So that's that.
So now this is the middle one, right?
Yes.
The oldest one's got to be a junior this year.
It's going to be a junior this fall.
What are, I mean, is he gonna play sports beyond high school at this point? Does he have a shot to play any hockey or?
Yes, he does. But he also, he was at Christian Brothers Academy. They don't have football, and he grew, and he was big when you met him, but he's going to be a junior. He is 6'3", 225. And he transferred out of his school about a month ago. He finished finals, and now he's out. He transferred to Red Bank Catholic, which is a big football powerhouse. And he wants to play football, and he's going to stay with his club hockey team, which I've come to realize, you probably knew it all along. No one cares about high school hockey.
No.
They just care about your club team, and he's on a very good club team. So yeah, I think he wants to see the football part. He's been bugging his mother, my daughter, since he was 10 to play football.
Right. I remember that conversation. I remember
finally succumbed. Yeah. She succumbed to the request. And so he started practice yesterday. He's been with the D-line coach for since January. The guy has a little private business, so it wasn't like Red Bank Catholic was cheating. And I hired the guy 3 days a week to work with him. So he's been 3 days a week with him since January, and he's ready to go. I've had him. All these college camps. I've been to Boston College Camp, Lehigh's camp, Monmouth College Camp, and one more going to Villanova. So he's being exposed to the college guys, and I know a lot of college football guys.
Right.
So and he still loves hockey, but he just wanted to do this. And once he got that big, my daughter realized. I go, Elizabeth, he's not going to get hurt. He's going to hurt somebody.
I always laugh. My buddy whose kid's, going into a senior year and he's going to play college ball somewhere. His old man played college ball. And he told me when his kids were younger, because Chris was my buddy was a big kid from like 8th grade on. He goes, did you get bullied, Dad? And his dad looked right at him and said, no, I was the bully.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, the coach of the high school football team, I love the guy. I've known him for a while, but he said to Brady, now, I just want to tell you this. When you transfer, instead of going to the penalty box, you're going to get high-fived by me for the exact same action. So very excited to give this a whirl.
Well, I've told you the story before. I'll never forget the Hireman kid, who ended up playing in the league. He all of a sudden started playing high school football and realized there's a lot of people at these games and girls that I go to high school with, and my club hockey team has parents at it. Huh.
Yeah. Well, Brady's all about that because every Friday night that he was home in the last 2 years, he'd be dropped off at a high school football game. And I said, you're torturing Elizabeth. Just let him play.
Yep.
Now she's doing it. So
yep.
Very exciting for him. And I think because I have a strength coach I hired for the other 3 days a week. And I know. And you're a junior in high school and you're 6'3", 225 on skates. Watch out. He'll be as big as anyone in the whole league.
Well, I'd love to see him stick on skates because if things are equal, it would be a lot easier play to get into that league at 6'3" than it would to the other league at 6'3".
Oh, no. 6'3" is the minimum requirement to do what he's doing in football. Yeah, it's fun.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Seth Everett will join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. John Forslund at the top of the bonus hour to recap the Panthers going back to back. Our poll question, do you consider what the Panthers have done here? 3 straight finals appearances, back-to-back Stanley Cups. Is that a dynasty? Absolutely, or pump the brakes? It's our poll question. It's around 60-40 yes, That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Pat, you're a huge hockey guy. You
Yeah.
consider what the Panthers have done here a dynasty?
Yeah, you answer one question. My instincts say yes, and I know a lot of guys that go to their games. How young are they?
They're not that young. They've got their core intact, but it's a
veteran team.
A veteran team, little slightly older than average.
Yeah, so that would lead me to think be careful about the answer. But you tell me, how many teams have won 3 in a row? Let's just put them in that category.
Hasn't been done since the Islanders in the early 80s. There have been like 6 that have gone back to back. Edmonton did it twice in the 80s, Pittsburgh in the early 90s, Detroit in the late 90s. And then we've had, in the last 10 years, Pittsburgh, the Lightning, and the Panthers.
Well, I followed the Islanders very close during those years, and they were a young team. We were in the facility next door, so there was times that they needed to come over to see the doctor or the trainers. We had more stuff than those guys, so I knew a lot of them. They stayed on Long Island and Huntington. I knew they lived right around me. They were young, but they always would go out and plug in one older veteran to kind of keep it rolling. But they were good, I thought, because they were so young when they got going.
But
Al Arbor, he was the coach.
And all of a sudden, Mike Bossy gets hurt, and it's amazing how quickly that can stay. You lose a key component, things can change quickly. Well, a key component to the Bengals is Trey Hendrickson, and they are starting to talk again. Pat, I think all along you've said this deal is going to get done. It looks like now it's a much more likely possibility before camp starts.
Yeah, and I kept saying May is too early to worry about it, but people like to make it a big story. Look, they have a reputation. It's not founded on truth all the time. Go look at, they've paid the quarterback, the receivers, so they've spent money before, and I think they'll spend money again. They know that they blew it by not getting it done last year. They asked the guy to wait. He waited, and they're going to have to do it. It's going to be more than they wanted to spend. If they were accurate at 28 and then it went to 33, somewhere in that area is what I've been told, it'll close out at 35. They'll try to get the Crosby deal now, which is 35. That'll be my guess, and it'll get done. And the pressure that the quarterback is applying to the franchise is interesting. He's just not going to let this be a Carson Palmer deal.
Are the Bengals, though, an example of, because when they get done paying Hendrickson, and they have to pay him, they only got 4 guys, really, that are making big-time money. And it doesn't look like, if you look at the rest of the roster, there's anybody they're going to have to pay for at least 2 years. They don't have a stud left tackle. They don't have anybody else on offense they have to pay. Pat, is that kind of the limit as to how many guys you can really pay top dollar at their position? Is 4 the max number?
Yeah, it's why to start today's show, at least from my perspective, I was letting the listeners know that the top 3 better not be in the 45% range of your cap. Can you stretch the 4th guy out? Yeah, like Philadelphia is the example of the ones who can do it. Their top 3 guys in 2026 are going to be 25% of the cap. They have room for a 4th star. I ask you, do the Cowboys have it? And right away, Mark brought up, Parsons. And so Detroit, they're kind of stretching the limit out too. So some teams can have 4, and some teams put themselves in a tough position to have 4, usually because of a quarterback contract. Like Mahomes' deal. Now, they can redo Mahomes, but next year, he's almost 20. He's 25.5% of the cap. That's hard to work with. But it might mean firing Juwan Taylor, which the 3 of us probably think they should do anyway.
And I think Mahomes does also, but that's a whole other point.
What are the Bengals going to do with their first-round pick with Stewart? What the hell's going on there, Pat?
That same thing basically happened with the Jets and Zach Wilson. And it was the time that people stopped dropping that compensation package that they wanted if the guy was released in case he went somewhere else. They wanted some of their money back. I think they're going to drop it and just get the guy signed. Again, I don't think they really cared about minicamp, and they thought it was important to stand their ground, but they're going to lose that battle. And so, yeah, that kind of stuff to me is just a waste of time. You should have just not had it in there. You drafted the guy, go for it. Just get him signed and get him in. And that is like, it's more annoying than a real problem. And I don't understand sometimes how teams operate like that, but they wanted to prove something. And all they proved was that they can be scrutinized by the media and by us. Like, what are you doing, guys?
You mentioned before we went to break the Bears, and you threw in that they have a stadium issue. Cincinnati has a stadium issue that's more than festering as well. And I believe that it makes this offseason's behavior by the Bengals even more ridiculous. The community looks at ownership funky to begin with. That if you want our money, you need to act like a good owner, like you're really trying to win. You're asking us in 25 years to finance another stadium for you. Okay, stop acting like a jerk. It's why I don't understand what they're doing, Pat, because every time I go to Cincinnati, the mood is we love the Bengals, but we really don't want to give the Brown family a dime.
Yeah, that's a fact. And it's complicated because Cleveland's looking at a stadium, right? So state funding, you had two cities in the same state that are trying to do stadium deals. I'm with you on that. Those guys, but they got spoiled because the last time they asked for money, they just gave it to them. And I hope they don't try to threaten that they'll leave. I don't think that is smart business. But the Brown family better, and all these owners better start thinking, and you've said this before, Dave, they better start thinking that public money is not coming like it used to.
Well, problem is, at the end of the day, when's the last time a community got away with basically giving the finger to a team?
I mean, look at Kansas City right now. I mean, obviously the Missouri governor just signed that whatever emergency stadium bill, but the state of Kansas is waving their arms going, hey, we'll pay for everything over here, guys.
Yep. And you have to think about that long and hard. It's interesting. Bob Kraft decided to build it. The guys who built their own stadiums, their value of their clubs are ridiculous because of the stadium. So it doesn't happen, but these owners better start thinking that we're going to have to do it. And the league has, loan money and everything else they can support them with. But I think most communities, personally, in my opinion, should say we're not giving you any money and call their bluff on leaving. And so they leave. St. Louis didn't fall apart. San Diego didn't fall apart.
In Missouri, they tied emergency hurricane funding to the stadium deal to get the emergency hurricane funding approved.
Mm-hmm. Well, when the government, the governors in these states and the mayors and stuff feel the pressure, they will start looking around at their budgets and grabbing anything they can to do it. But you wonder if they're going to be in office if they start raising taxes on this. The people right there in Missouri, I've been to Kansas City a number of times the last couple of years, as have you. They voted this down. They don't want to do this. And they have the world championship football team.
I know. It went back-to-back Super Bowls and they voted it down.
That's right. Because they don't want to pay for stadiums for billionaires. I think when these go to votes, they don't ever win in the public. He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains. CBS today, the NFL today, and he joins us courtesy of Pinterest. Pat, have a great week.
I will. Thank you very much. Enjoy the whatever we're calling this. Is this the summer up here? It's cold, but I'm coming to Florida tomorrow. Thank goodness.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myaradvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635. 4635. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
Hi, Seth.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You going to the Panthers parade?
No.
Me neither.
No, I've been to one championship parade in my life. It's the one I was in.
Yeah, I was in a parade too. I played Madden football with a bunch of Denver Broncos, and when they won the Super Bowl in '98, they invited everyone from the Madden League to go on their float.
That's awesome.
And I didn't, we didn't have cameras. I didn't bring a camera.
That's awesome because that's a real parade. I was lucky enough to be a part of a team that won a championship at the AAA level, and it was in Atlanta.
That's cool.
And they threw a parade for us, and there really weren't a lot of people in downtown Atlanta for this parade. I found it to be hysterical.
No, this one was wild, and then there was a rumor. Like, I was in the press area for the parade, and there was a rumor. They said everybody from the Madden League is invited on the parade, and I was like, if I walk there and I not, and this is a trick, I'm an idiot. And I walked there, and they were like, "Come on, come on, come on!" And so I went up. I was 23.
Wow. Wow.
I think the guy who runs the podcast site, that hosts my shows,
Right.
He's traveling. He has not responded. I sent Sports with Friends last night, and I don't see it.
So you don't post them yourself? You just sent them an edited version? I mean, that's
I send it.
That's kind of amazing because it's one of the easier things on earth to do.
No, I know, but it goes on his. It's the rev share agreement that we have. So so I put it in a Google Drive and I fill out a form.
Gotcha.
Once it's in, it's out of my hands.
Gotcha. No, I mean, we have the same thing. I just post everything.
No, I get that. I don't know. I don't know what the story is. It's a very helpless feeling because I did the work, Yeah. Usually, if he's like delayed for something, he sends a text and he'll say, "I'll get to it," or whatever. Sometimes I'm late. Sometimes it's on me. Not this one.
What's the sweatshirt?
This one?
Yeah.
It's from Star Wars. It's from that new show.
It's a T-shirt. I thought the back of your chair was a hoodie.
No, it's a new chair though. I got a new chair.
I like it.
I know, I love it. It's what a difference having a cushion makes. I had that other chair for 20 years.
There was nothing for your butt.
And there were the building has like a message board, like an app, and I said free for whoever wants it. Because throwing it away would have been hard. And it went in 5 seconds, and I was like, "Good luck."
Wow. Well, they just don't realize how bad it is yet.
Yeah, well, just sit in it, so you'll find out. It was getting to the point of where I was trying to avoid doing work because I was doing the bare minimum of sitting here because it was so uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
I was like, screw this. And I went to the good old Costco and I bought a chair. And I put it together myself. Ha
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Steve Carney and Pat Kirwan have already joined us on Miller and Moulton. John Forslund will join us at the top of the hour, the bonus hour of
the great John Forslund.
That is the voice of one Seth Everett. He has 2 great podcasts, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice. You can follow him on X at Seth_Everett. Seth, we start first off. Hope you're doing well. How are you? Secondly, our poll question, do you consider the Panthers 3 straight trips to the finals, back-to-back cups, salary cap era? Does that change your thinking at all? Do you consider the Panthers, along with what the Lightning just did, do you consider them dynasties?
Yeah, I'm leaning toward dynasty. I think back-to-back is pretty impressive, especially in this day and age. Parity being what it is and competitive balance being the best of any sport. The fact that we got the same final twice is remarkable. I think it's the exception, not the rule. I don't think, either team would be the favorite next year. But kudos to the Panthers. They went to another level. And Reinhardt, Marchand, Bobrovsky, I mean, they're fantastic. And it's fine. It is what it is. I wanted to see Edmonton win for a multitude of reasons, but to the victor goes the spoils.
You're damn right. And you are talking to 2 people who live in the hockey state.
I know.
Florida.
Yeah. Hey. And you got 2 outdoor games next year.
Right, 2 outdoor games. You throw in the fact that up until this year, the minor league team in Florida, the Everblades, had won 3 straight. Yep. There's not a year this decade that doesn't have a Florida team winning a hockey championship.
It's a hockey hotbed. Bettman was thrilled. He got to go home. He lives in Boca. So, he was like, this is great. I could hop on 95. He was gone before the cup was done being passed around.
Are you saying he handed it to Barkov and he was home within the hour?
Yeah, he's crowd out of there. They're all sticking around to watch a celebration. He's looking for the police escort out.
I met their owner. I was introduced to their owner when I was down there a couple of years ago, Vinny Viola. He's just a nice dude. Nice guy.
An amazing job he and they have done. Not just the on-ice product. What they've done with season tickets, sponsorship sales.
100%.
Yeah, food and beverage. I mean, they have raised the bar in a way that many of us thought was never possible.
So what happens? Does the Target stay open? The Target across the parking lot? Does that stay open because they win the cup?
No, you got to shut it down. You need the parking. No. They probably have to shut Target down early. We need the parking.
After that game, they're rocking the Cheesecake Factory?
I mean, as opposed to shooting people in the Devils parking lot, I'm sure it's a hell of a lot better.
Shooting people?
Yeah, it's Jersey. I mean, come on. Don't come on here and start messing around with our franchise. When you guys get a goaltender and can get past the first round, let me know.
Our goalie who held the cup yesterday, Vitek Vanacek. There were 5 former Devils on that Panthers roster.
They had to leave New Jersey to win.
Jesper Boquist, Thomas Nosek. It was wild. All the extras.
All right, Seth, yesterday news came out that you have been predicting would happen for quite a while.
Uh-oh.
Yesterday, the news came per Nielsen's data.
Oh, yeah.
Television usage was beat by streaming usage. More people were using video on demand to watch their TV than were watching it on cable or network television. And for the record, if you stream an NHL game on Max, that's actually counted in the TV numbers because it's a game that's available on network television, according to what I have in front of me. What do you think that means for sports, if anything, Seth? You've been talking about this, that the cord cutters. I mean, you've been talking about it for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Now we're at the point where more people essentially have cut the cord than have it. What does that mean going forward for sports in Europe?
Well, and those numbers are skewed because, like what you said is it's a combination of broadcast and cable, and that number is still smaller combined. The interesting part about it, from my standpoint, Nielsen came out with 2 interesting statistics. The first one was what you said with people watching streaming. What I think is every league that does any or regional contract needs to have a streaming component. And so this day and age where I and you're starting to see that, even Fox is making Fox One, and they were reticent to do so for a long time. And you wonder where their Fox Sports will be on streaming. Will that be a subscriptions model or whatever? It's interesting. The other part about it, and the other part of the data that I was fascinated with is even though YouTube's popularity is at an all-time high, the majority of podcast listeners are still listening to audio podcasts. And that is a trend that is changing. And so next year at this time, we will not have that conversation. There are more people that watch podcasts than listen to podcasts. And it is my belief that a podcast is a podcast and a YouTube is a YouTube, and they're not the same thing. And I don't understand why I would press play on anything with YouTube. And I have friends who do podcasts that post YouTube links, and that does nothing for me because I'm not sitting here and watching you talk. Now, I'm a big believer in video content for promo purposes. I think what you guys are doing on Twitch and whatnot is the right move to go. But you're not pretending that this is a podcast. And I thought those numbers were interesting as well, because a lot of people said that YouTube is the way that everybody's going and that any podcast is a YouTube. And I'm just telling you now, if I was starting my shows now, I would not.
Not to get too nooks and cranny, but I have a feeling we're going to get very nooks and cranny. Yes, Fox is the last one to the streaming party by a very long time, by the way. Mm-hmm. They also have been far and away the most profitable network. Okay, TV.
Because they're investing in their linear. Because they're investing in their linear, correct.
But the networks that have spent a lot of money on streaming services are losing their blank.
Correct.
Okay, so what's interesting is that while we're going more towards streaming, it's not making money.
Correct.
So therefore, help me out. How does this continue to sustain itself then if it's not making money?
Because just because you have a platform doesn't mean that you have to spend recklessly. And remember, this was COVID. This was during COVID when everybody was stuck at home, and all these apps thought they could compete with Netflix.
Right. Because
And
Netflix
they
went through
can't.
the roof and everybody said, we have to be Netflix.
We have to have a Netflix.
Right.
We want our own Netflix. And it was just reckless spending. Scale back the spending and the subscriber numbers will sustain you. That's pure business. That has nothing to do with will they or won't they. That's more like run your business models better.
But as they are trying to grow their business, all of them, including Netflix, Seth, are spending a ton of money to try to acquire more live programming. Do the two merge, if you know what I mean? Does Netflix become not just a video on demand site, but a site where we're going to go for live sports? And can the two models sustain each other to be profitable down the road? Or are we going to have some of these just go away?
Well, some of the networks, some of these streaming services that are bidding for sports have infinite funds. I mean, Apple, Amazon, and Netflix, right? And Netflix has dabbled. I mean, they're doing those Christmas Day games again, and they had great success according to Netflix. That's what they wanted. I could see Netflix going for the AFC package. I could see that in a few years when that's up. I could see Netflix going for baseball. I could see Sunday Night Baseball going to Netflix. I could see it. You can see them continuing to dabble. If they purchase the rights to the Women's World Cup. If that goes off without a hitch, they can show that they can show multiple games at the same time. All I can say is between the French Open and the hockey playoffs, I thought Max did a remarkable job. I never once turned on TNT. I'm sure they were on TNT, but I saw it on Max, and it was on that app, and it was perfect, and it was easy to find. I could restart the broadcast if I wanted to at any time, and the commercials were limited. And I thought it was great. I thought Max did a great job, but they don't know how to not spend.
That's HBO Max coming soon.
Yeah, that's right. HBO Max. Yes.
All right. Your close personal friend there, Gary Bettman, commissioner of the NHL.
Yes.
In 3 years, his American TV deal is up. They'll start talking in the next 18 months. Seth, the same two teams just played in the finals. Mm-hmm. Last year, the games were on ABC. This year, the games were on TNT.
Mm-hmm.
Same two teams, same time of the year. The numbers were down significantly. The difference between ABC and TNT. If you're Gary Bettman, I mean, it's right there, clear as day. It's even a better comparison than trying to take into account 3 seasons ago with the Florida Vegas. These are the same two teams back to back. You can see the difference between network television and a network that owns a major cable network that can cross-promote them out of it nonstop for weeks. Oh, yes, and can cross-promote it while they're airing the NBA Finals, as opposed to completely ignore the Stanley Cup Final until this morning when they did 5 minutes on it on Get Up, okay? Versus TNT, which was tremendous coverage, and the ratings were down over 30%. If you're Gary Bettman going forward, can you do another deal with a cable company?
Probably not. Probably not. Probably what you have to do is, if you look at the NBA model, the Amazon component, that the TNT, the TNT's basketball coverage is now essentially the Amazon component. Now, there is an NBC element because they want some linear. They still want to stay linear. And I think that's where this comes from. Now, they get the linear from ABC, and I could see a deal where the finals every year are on ABC. I could see that going forward.
Like the NBA.
Yeah, they're losing too much from the lack of availability. The broadcast component, I don't have the Nielsen numbers in front of me, but I want to say it was like 15% are watching on broadcast. That's 15% that didn't have the hockey option. You can't get that's the dip in the ratings first, is just the idea that it just wasn't on broadcast.
If you were ESPN ABC going forward,
I would put a lot more Star Wars.
If you were skipping the Star Wars, thank you for that, Seth. And you could get one league, the NHL or the WNBA. What would you take for the next 5 years?
Oh, the WNBA. And I'm a hockey nut.
And I would too, and I'm right there with you, Seth.
Because the WNBA can grow more, and the NHL is going to grow minimally. Most hockey fans exist already. I don't think the NHL is going to have this growth spurt. I think the NHL is on solid ground. I really do. Oh, and I know you guys can't stand Sean McDonough, so I want to just put a caveat. I will take the TNT booth, but could you put Emily Kaplan in that TNT booth?
God, please.
Then you have it. And I think Ray Ferraro and Eddie Olczyk are a push, and I like them both, but they're a push. So if your argument is Kenny Albert over Sean McDonough, give me Emily Kaplan, and that's my argument for the ESPN booth.
Well, also pregame and postgame.
I know, but I barely watch pregame.
Okay. We got a minute. Sports with Friends Hall of Justice. You working this week?
I am. Joe Theismann, his third appearance on the show. We have an extensive conversation about a guy who ended his career in one play, about Tua Tagovailoa. It's a really very interesting podcast. He also we talked about the long-term effects of his injury. Like his injury was 40 years ago, and he's still dealing with it. It's a very interesting podcast. And the Hall of Justice this week is Reacher. One of my favorite shows. It's on Amazon Prime. They just had season 3, and we review it here on the podcast and tease season 4, which is coming out next year.
Wow. Nice to hear you excited. Because usually when you say we review something, it's kind of like, well, we review it. It sucked. We'll tell you how much it sucked.
I'll say this. I don't think the podcast is that good because the show is that much better. It's just we gush over the show. The show's great.
All right.
So Reacher, not Reach Around, Reacher.
No, Reacher.
Very good.
Alan Richson. It's based on the Lee Childs books. Amazon Prime. They've had 3 seasons. I recommend it to anyone. You love Reacher.
Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, the 2 great podcasts from Seth Everett. Follow Seth on X, Seth_Everett. Seth, all the best to you and the girls. Take care.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. I've been a customer for over a year and cannot say enough good things about their service and communication. If you're a business owner, you can trust Molly Maid to do an exceptional job. Their expert team delivers tailored cleaning for whatever your needs, ensuring a pristine environment for clients and staff. Visit mollymaid.com/FT-Myers or call 239-418-0052. Molly Maid makes my home shine, and it will make your home or business shine too.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, Puck Virtue, I could tell you on the really brutal days in North Dakota, 20 or so below temperature, wind chills 50 to 70 below. It didn't take 5 minutes. I mean, those are brutal conditions, but that's winter in North Dakota. January 96, we had 11 consecutive days below zero. He was 44 below one time with a 70 plus below wind chill.
What PJad, what are you laughing at me about? What did I do?
Scott Pelley was in Fargo for 4 days doing storm coverage, and I was driving him around, and I asked him, I go, "This is the coldest you ever been?" He said, "Let me think about that." And he slept on it, and he came back to me the next day. He said, "Well, I was in St. Petersburg, Russia in January." And he said, "But this is every bit as cold as that." It's all right. A proud Texas Tech man, Scott Pelley, would go to their bowl games. Got close with the Bush family when George W. was the governor of Texas.
He's the best. I always make a point of someone, because we probably won't have him for months, and just thanking him up and down. He's like, just don't lose my number anytime. Anytime.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour, no better way to start it than with the best at calling hockey for a living. John Forslund, whether it's the NHL on TNT, Sports USA Radio, the television voice of the Seattle Kraken. You can follow John simply at John Forslund, Forslund. John, I hope you've been well. Just throw it out there. You called them often during the Stanley Cup playoffs. You watched them these last 2 weeks. Your thoughts on the Panthers?
Well, it's great to be with you guys again. And, I think I've mentioned this to both of you in past conversations, but certainly if I have, my apologies, but I think I have to reinforce it. This team reminds me of the great teams we watched in the early 80s, if you're old enough, in the New York Islanders. I mean, I just can't imagine, in this generation, a team that has every single facet you need to win a hockey game, with the same group. There's usually a shortcoming somewhere. It's really hard, especially the way the salary cap is. You don't get everything perfectly aligned, but when you look at what they did last year, what they did throughout the regular season, identifying some shortcomings, going out at the deadline and picking up two really important pieces, and then rolling it out again without home ice in every round and rattling off 10 wins on the road and doing it physically with skill, with speed, with systematic play, and with great goaltending and toughness. I think they remind me a great deal of those great teams, 79 through 83, the New York Islanders.
I paid attention to it during the series, and I kept talking about the small, short passes that the D-men from Florida were making throughout the playoffs. But what I guess I noticed even more so last night, John, is that their forwards, to a man, are committed to playing 200 feet of hockey. And that, to me, has got to be Paul Maurice, because there's a commitment to get back on defense, not just to skate back in the zone, but to skate your ass off back to the zone and make sure you're in the right spot. And to a man, this team did it throughout the postseason. And that may have impressed me more than anything, John.
Well, that's the adjustment that he was able to make, and that's the buy-in the players were able to get to. And, a new coach can come in, and they already had a great team who was setting offensive records, who was expected to get through the Tampa Bay Lightning in round one a few years ago under Andrew Burnett, who did a nice job. But it was a 4-and-out, and it was some soul searching, and there were changes made, and something just was not right. And when you bring in Paul, he's going to bring, his philosophies. And I know a great deal about Paul Maurice because of my years with the Hurricanes and our history going all the way back to Hartford. And he's a really good coach in terms of defensive principles, but the players have to accept it, and they have to understand that it's not easy to play that way. And sometimes you forego some production, so you can't be selfish about it. But when your leader and your best center is also the Selke Trophy winner, as the league's best defensive forward, that's where it is. So as much as, sure, it's Paul putting a plan in place, there's a meeting held after the meeting with the coach, and it's the players that get together. And if Barkov is bought in and he leads by example, it's easy for everybody else to follow suit. And again, it's not a snap of your finger and you're back in September and automatically this is going to happen. It wasn't that kind of year for the Panthers. They had their issues. They had troubles. They had some injuries. They've played a ton of hockey over the last 3 years. And it's amazing that they had enough gas in the tank, enough commitment, and team chemistry, which I think is the final piece that gets any organization over the top, to get them into this position to win last night. And they won going away. I know it was 6 games, but if you look at the stretches and the lead time and everything else, Florida dominated the 6-game series, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the most dominant 6-game win probably in Stanley Cup Finals history. The Edmonton led for 33 minutes total in the 6 games, which was really more like 7 because they played 3 overtimes, which added up to 2+ periods of hockey. Talking Stanley Cup Finals and the Panthers going back-to-back with John Forslund. Can we go back to Paul Maurice? How's he different than he was when he was with Hartford/Carolina? I dealt with him 20 years ago. He was as serious as a heart attack. There was no dry sense of humor when I dealt with him in a couple of Carolina training camps. I'm just curious, how is Paul Maurice different now?
Well, I think we all change as we get older, right? And those of us who are older, I think we're a better version of what we were when we were younger. At least that's the plan in life.
Right. The hope.
What happens to what happens to everybody in life is you get to a point where you just are comfortable and secure in terms of who you are, and you just don't care anymore. And I think that's happened to him. I think, when we go all the way back to 1995 in Hartford, when he became the second youngest coach in the history of the NHL, he was probably tactically ready for the position. That's what Jim Rutherford told me at the time. I mean, this is a true story. Jim Rutherford, the general manager, told me at the time, this guy will go down in history as one of the greatest coaches ever. And he was 28 years old. And I was like, okay, Jim, thanks. I'm not sure I'm sipping out of the same Kool-Aid as you, because who would have thought that, right? And half the roster was way older than he, had a ton of NHL experience. This is a guy who never played in the NHL. So he had to kind of morph himself along the way and have success. I mean, he led the Hurricanes to the Stanley Cup final in 2002, led them to the conference final in 2009, did a great job with the Winnipeg Jets. You look at his career, it was all there, but then he gets to the perfect fit at the perfect time for him to be him. And now he doesn't take himself as seriously as you point out. You know, he kind of makes fun of himself. He's a self-deprecating guy, and he's great to be around, and he's super media friendly. But I think between coaching gigs along the way, probably was after his Toronto stint with the Maple Leafs, he went into media, worked for TSN in Canada, and I think that helped him understand our side of things. And I had a conversation with him this year. We did a game for Amazon, the rematch, Edmonton, Florida, December 16th. And we had a nice chat after the morning skate. We talked for a long time, and we talked just about this. Because when I was working, with him and covering his teams, he wasn't at times easy to deal with. He oftentimes was insecure, in terms of how it related to us. So it wasn't easy to always cover him and be in the coach's office. And I always knew a different side of him. And I knew he had an unbelievable sense of humor and was like, there's Paul at home, there's Paul in the coaching office. It's two different people. I just thought if he could bring a little bit of that with him at some point, it would be great. And he's done it. So those are the differences. And why is all that important? That's important because that relates to the players. Because hockey players, I think athletes in general, pick up BS very quickly. And I'm not saying he was, but if you're not completely authentic, and how can you be when you're 28 years of age and you're trying to coach in the National Hockey League? Only a couple of people. Gary Green did it. He was the youngest. Scotty Bowman did it with the most success. And Paul's success has come later. So I think that's where the connection is now, that when the players come to training camp, they hear his first address, they like, okay, he's got the background, he's got the credibility, he's got the approach, but he can be light with us too. He knows when guys need days off and when they need time, and let them be and not talk to them, because he'll go days without even addressing the team during the course of a season when they're in dog days. So those are the differences that I see.
When you look back on the days with him in Hartford and then Carolina, were there players that challenged him to make him better? I'm thinking, Ronnie Francis in the early days, and you talked about all the veteran players when he first got to Hartford. And I'm thinking back in my hockey career with some young coaches, and it would be at the minors, but they would be challenged the way that older established coaches weren't. Who challenged Paul, and how did he handle it?
Well, Paul will tell you that Ron Francis had a big, big impact on him. When Paul took over the Whalers, Ronnie was still with the Penguins. Ronnie went to free agency, and then after the first season in North Carolina, they signed Francis as an unrestricted free agent, brought him in, and the team had instant credibility. And the team was aching for something like that, and I think Paul was too. And Paul will tell you that he was the smartest player he ever coached. He'll tell you he's the smartest hockey mind he's ever been around. Ron worked with him in the 2008-09 season as an assistant coach before he went upstairs to kind of get a team that was struggling halfway through the year with a coaching firing of Peter Laviolette. Then they came in, and Ron Francis was his assistant coach. In today's world, Paul will tell you that Barkov, Reinhardt are two guys that are as smart as Ron Francis is and was as a player. I think that one guy had a lot to do. Matt Sundin had a great effect on Paul in Toronto. Paul was in the, in that hockey-centric environment, dealing with way more media than he ever had to, coaching a legacy team in the league, the Dallas Cowboys, if you will, of hockey. How do you do it? Well, you got to lean on certain veterans along the way. He's talked about Sundin. I think Rod Brindamore had a big effect on how he sees the game, because a player will see the game one way and do whatever the coach tells him to do at the pro level. Usually that's the case. And then the coach will then have to have private conversations with leadership to understand where they're at. And I think Paul was smart enough to recognize that he needed some of this support along the way. So it's a great question. I think he utilized all of this, and I'm sure I'm leaving a ton of people out, but that helped him, with each step, kind of change a little bit to alter himself for whatever environment he was in. And obviously it's worked to a T.
Well, John, we're big fans of you and your work, and we could talk to you for an hour or more. Enjoy some downtime. And would it be okay with free agency starting in 2 weeks? And it's going to be fascinating this year if we track you down wherever you are in early July and just talked about the NHL and life and the pursuit of happiness.
Please do. It's my pleasure. I really enjoy being with you guys. I appreciate it. And there will be a ton of news. So Don't lose my number. I'll be there.
John Forslund, whether it's the NHL on TNT, the television voice of the Seattle Kraken, Sports USA Radio, and as he mentioned, he did Monday night's NHL on Amazon. Follow him on X at John Forslund, Forslund. John and all our guests joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
One of the best right there. Even said it off air. He goes, don't lose my number.
You said, listen, we're a minor league show. You're a major league guy. Do you know how dangerous those words are?
Thought it was interesting. Ron Francis, great NHLer, now in the front office, a key guy to helping Paul Maurice out in the early days. Remember, he started coaching in the NHL at 28. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right, quick little trivia question for everybody. We'll see if David answers it in 4 seconds or less. In the Super Bowl era, which cities have won championships in all 4 sports? You're either thinking or looking it up, and I don't think looking it up is fair. Just saying. Or you don't care. That is 2 of them, yes. Those are all correct, but that is not all of them, Turf Dude. Dallas is correct. The Mavs, Rangers, Cowboys, and Stars. All right, David, quick trivia question for you.
Shoot.
In the Super Bowl era, name the cities that have won championships in all 4 major sports.
Obviously, Miami. New York.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
San Fran doesn't have a hockey team, do they? Or because San Jose,
technically, yeah.
But the answer is no, because they don't have a hockey title.
Right.
LA.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a number, or do I just have to keep going?
You have 2 more.
2 more. Okay.
Wow, I thought David would nail this very quickly.
Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. It is LA.
Dallas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dallas.
Did you have Washington in there too?
Well, I got 6. I had Miami, New York, Chicago, LA, Dallas, Philly.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. We don't normally do this, take what we're talking about off air and bring it on air. But so how many cities do you say in the Super Bowl era? So you're talking mid-60s. Super Bowl one was the 66 season. So in the last 60 years, essentially.
Right. You have won a championship and I'll finish the question. Won a championship in all 4 major sports in the Super Bowl era. I just had a little fun during the break with our audience on YouTube and Twitch because you were off doing something, and I just asked him a question. I said Moulton will nail this in 4 seconds, and you didn't, and I was surprised.
Now, I've got. First off, I didn't even have Boston on my list. Boston has to be right.
Of course, Boston's on the list.
Right. So, okay. Well,
you list them for you without you.
Well,
guessing?
hold on. See, here's where I think you threw me off. Either that or one of my is wrong. I asked you how many cities, and you said 6.
It may be, well, sorry, David. I believe it's 7.
Okay, because I have 7. I have Miami because, Super Bowl era. So you go back, the Dolphins won, and obviously the Marlins have won, and the Heat have won, and now the Panthers have won.
Right.
Okay. And also, it's a city that has to have all 4 sports. Like,
that's correct.
Some major cities only have 2 or 3. So New York, obviously, because, the Knicks won in the early 70s. Dallas, Cowboys, Mavs, Texas Rangers a couple years ago, fulfilled the baseball requirement. Philadelphia, with the Eagles were the last one needed to finally win a championship there. Los Angeles, because you got the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Kings and the Rams. Okay. Chicago, once the Cubs took care of business, that took Chicago, Boston, obviously, because the amazing run they've had in the 21st century. Now, there's one other that I'm going through quickly. I'm trying to think. Does our nation's capital? They got the Nats one.
Washington.
The Nats won,
the Bullets won a title. They're now the Wizards, but the Bullets won a title.
In
so
78.
The Bullets, the Nats, the Commanders, and the Caps.
Okay. So I have 8 American cities that have won championships in all 4 sports. Unless I have one of them wrong.
I'm sorry. You're just, I've got them listed here and you're going all over. So I'm kind of scrolling up and down. You are correct, David.
Okay. I'll tell you what, though, it's a pretty fascinating list.
The funny one is it's before the Super Bowl era, but a funny team that is actually city that's won all 4 that no one would ever think of is St. Louis. Because the Cardinals, the Blues, the St. Louis Rams, and the St. Louis Hawks of the NBA, they've actually done it, and 2 of the teams don't play there anymore. One doesn't exist.
I love the question, though. And I didn't cheat either, so it's why it was taking me, longer and, just going through it. But I like it. I like that question. I still love the factoid of the day. Dan Patrick stat of the day. The fact that an American franchise has won the Grey Cup, the CFL title, more recently than a Canadian franchise has won the Stanley Cup. The Baltimore Stallions, who were in the CFL for a blink of an eye, won the CFL title in 95. The last Canadian franchise to dance with Lord Stanley is the Canadians in 93.
So I just having a little fun with that. I didn't know it was going to carry over to the air, but I've been wanting to get to this story. Can I spend 5 minutes completely switching gears? Because I've had this story in front of me since 5:30 this morning because I find it interesting. Diego Pavia, is that how you say it? Is the Vanderbilt quarterback?
Pavia.
He did a podcast, Bussin' with the Boys. It was published yesterday. And he took shots at a few people. And I got to give it up for the Vandy quarterback throwing shade at the entire Big Ten Conference. Because apparently he was offered big money to leave Vandy to go to a Big Ten school. And he said in the podcast, you want to play with the best, you don't want to play with the Big Ten. You ignore those calls. You know that. In the Big Ten, you really only have 4 games a year. The SEC, it's like week after week. If you're going to get beat on, the Big Ten ain't going to get you beat on with Purdue and Nebraska. The best pass rushers are in the SEC, except like Abdul Cardo. You'll find one or two. Kid from South Carolina, Dylan Stewart. He could have left, would have been a first-round pick. And he finished it by saying that Vanderbilt is going to run Tennessee after this year. This is going to be the new staple of college football. It's going to happen here at Vanderbilt. Everybody wants to come to Tennessee because of Nashville. Then we have like the most money in NIL. Why not come here? Look, I love his confidence. I don't think it has any shot in hell of being true. But I've got to love not the Alabama quarterback, not the Georgia quarterback. Hell, not even the Ole Miss quarterback. The Vanderbilt quarterback basically told the entire Big Ten to go stick it.
I will say there are a few pretty good pass. In fact, you could argue the top 3 pass rushers in the NFL all play in the Big Ten. But I hear them. Look at the draft every year. I mean, damn near half of the first rounds, the SEC. I mean, there's no way around it. Big Ten in the last couple of years is like, we got the natties. Come on now. I thought you guys were all about the natties. But now, listen, to me, the most interesting thing is him making the case of, you wait, Vandy's going to be a power. And we'll say, of all the cities in the state of Tennessee, unless you really love your Jazz and you want to go to Memphis, I mean, come on now. It's Nashville is where you'd want to go.
Right. There's no doubt. But if you really love your Jazz, you may go to New Orleans.
No. But I'm just saying,
really
like
love your blues.
Okay, my bad.
That's all. I come on. I had to.
No. You got to correct that.
Fair. All right. But the problem with what he says is this, though. Unless Nashville has drastically changed. I lived in Nashville a lifetime ago. I lived there for, I believe, 18 months. They love the Volunteers in Nashville.
Yes.
I don't know how much the Titans and the Preds have changed that town's loyalties to who they root for. But when I lived there, and I lived there through 2 football seasons, there weren't any Vanderbilt football fans. Not any. I mean, like maybe 6. There were less Vanderbilt football fans in Nashville at that time than there were Panther fans in South Florida 7 years ago. They all were Tennessee fans. But if the money and the NIL, I mean, think about how that city is booming. That is one of the great cities in America right now.
That's going to get a Super Bowl by the end of the decade because they're getting a new domed stadium in 2 years. Mm-hmm.
If businesses wanted to invest in Vanderbilt, who, by the way, just redid their entire stadium,
which is good because
they were playing in half of one for a year and a half.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. If they get their you-know-what together in NIL, it would be fascinating that the best school in the SEC, from an academic standpoint, could raise their athletic level to be at the top of the SEC. I don't see it happening, personally. That's just me.
Tell you what, though, I want him to be the front man on the sales pitch, don't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're walking in that boardroom. I want him walking in first.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, Call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. I've been a customer for over a year and cannot say enough good things about their service and communication. If you're a business owner, you can trust Molly Maid to do an exceptional job. Their expert team delivers tailored cleaning for whatever your needs, ensuring a pristine environment for clients and staff. Visit mollymaid.com/FT-Myers or call 239-418-0052. Molly Maid makes my home shine, and it will make your home or business shine too.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So an acquaintance of mine would not even come close to calling him a friend. Actually, someone that was friends with my ex-wife when they were in college, and he's one of the better one-man acts that I've ever seen play guitar and sing at a bar. I think he's terrific. Scott Munns. He played the Elbow Room last night. He went live a couple of times, and I was just kind of paying attention on Facebook. But he's played last night 9 to midnight at the Elbow Room. He's back this morning doing the 8 a.m. to noon show at the Elbow Room. They're already busy and eagerly anticipating the Cup showing up at the Elbow Room this morning.
Fantastic.
Yes, it's a bar on Fort Lauderdale Beach, Canada Relief, the Elbow Room. It's a pretty famous place.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, till we're out of here, till we're done. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. If you missed Steve Carney, Pat Kirwan, Seth Everett, John Forslund, go to millerandmoulton.com and download what you've missed. They all joined us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. This is normally when I give just a little hint as to what's on the show tomorrow. I have no idea. Booked all our guests for today. You know, I booked 10 guests so far this week. I got nothing lined up for tomorrow, Mark. My guess is we'll preview Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Will the Thunder win their first championship?
I'll keep that recording for tomorrow's promo.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was the day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health, 239-427-3441. That's 427-3441 online, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Mention Miller and Moulton for 10% off your service. God, I love when computers are slow. Happy birthday, Philadelphia. William Penn founds Philadelphia today in 1682.
Boy, that guy, he didn't do much of anything. That William Penn guy, he pretty much mailed it in.
No truth to the rumor. After he founded Philadelphia, other Philadelphians threw things at him. 1815, the Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon gets his ass kicked.
That's one way to put it.
1873, Susan B. Anthony is fined $100 for voting for U.S. president in Rochester, New York. She refuses to pay, and no further action is taken against her. By the way, a $100 fine is the equivalent of $2,200 today to vote.
Well, she was a woman, not allowed to vote.
Arnie had the biggest comeback in U.S. Open history today in 1960. He erases a 7-stroke final round deficit to beat Jack.
His only U.S. Open win. Billy Casper would return the favor on Arnie with 9 holes to play 6 years later.
That Monterey Pop Festival that I talked about a couple of days ago closed today. The final acts were Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and then The Who. (1967) also, Jack shot a 65 at Baltusrol to win the U.S. Open, 4 ahead of Arnie.
He won 2 of his 4 at Baltusrol. That's where he won in 80.
Jack would win at Pebble today for his 3rd Open title in 72. That same day, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld baseball's exemption from antitrust laws in the Curt Flood case. Bowie Q and the commissioner of baseball voided the Oakland A's sales of players totaling $35 million that would have sent Joe Rudy and Raleigh Fingers to Boston and Vita Blue to the Yankees today in 76. Andy North wins at Cherry Hills for the U.S. Open today, the first of 2 for him. Fuzzy beats Greg Norman in a Monday playoff today at Winged Foot in 84.
My grandfather and I were there for this final round Sunday. In fact, we were greenside at 18. There's a picture in the now, defunct Sport magazine when Norman makes that 30 or 40 footer for par and Fuzzy waves the white towel thinking it's for birdie and I surrender. Okay. I'm actually in that picture. No cheesy mustache and fro. I'm 18 years old.
Let's see. Don Sutton won his 300th today in 86 and 89. Curtis Strange goes back-to-back at the Open. Tiger wins his first Open by 15 strokes today at Pebble in 2000. The Fast and the Furious premiered today in 2001. Jeff Ogilvy wins the Open today in 06. He made pars on the final 2 holes to win. What'd Phil do?
I believe he went bogey double. Yep, he had a 2-shot lead with like 3 or 4 to play. I remember that. One of the great lines from Johnny Miller in the booth. Okay, Phil hits that tee shot out to the left off the tarp there, or the tent, and Johnny Miller says Ben Hogan must be rolling over in his grave.
Bruce Springsteen saxophone player Clarence Clements died today in 2011. Brooks Koepka won his first major at Erin Hills in 2017. And that submarine that, went down to view the Titanic with all those people that paid all that money, yeah, it imploded today in 2023. George Mikan, Lou Brock, and Roger Ebert would have all celebrated birthdays today. Sir Paul McCartney is 83. Bruce Smith is 62. Sandy Alomar Jr., 59. Jeff Saturday and Martin St. Louis are both 50 years old today. Blake Shelton is 49. And Antonio Gates is 45 years old today. What did I miss, David?
The War of 1812 began today.
What year?
Unlike the Big Ten, the War of 1812 is actually 1812. And Sally Ride became the first American woman in space today on Challenger in 83. She would go up in space one more time. She was supposed to be on the space shuttle ride immediately following Challenger in 86, and then we all know what happened.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
So we go to California for the good, where a bear made its way into a house. And initially, the woman in the house slept through it. But it was her dog that went nose to nose with the bear. There's video inside the home showing the dog going nose to nose with the bear, and the bear backed down somehow, and the dog chased the bear out of the house. The woman woke up to a bear in her kitchen. For the bad, we go to Virginia, where authorities were called because of an animal that was running around, well, not running, but witnesses reported seeing an animal sighting. It was an alligator in Fairfax, Virginia, walking around the hotel. The 6-foot gator apparently had escaped from its owner while being transported from New York to a North Carolina zoo. Virginia law prohibits the possession of alligators, so once the reptile was recaptured, police escorted the animal and its owner out of Fairfax County. Who's got a pet alligator? That's all I want to know. Finally, the ugly. We go to Collier County, where Dana Seifert is a rotten person. She's 52 years old, and she was hired by her neighbor to help walk her dog. Apparently, she didn't feel the payment was quite enough because she stole more than $106,000 of jewelry from the elderly woman whose dog she was walking. Fortunately, Collier County sheriffs arrested her yesterday. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Wednesday, June 18th, here on Miller and Moulton.
Well, obviously, hockey's done, and hoop ain't till tomorrow night. So it's a pretty slow sports night. Now, Major League Baseball's going on. No nationally televised games except for, I think, one on MLB Network. You got the Marlins home for the Phillies, and you got the Rays home for the Orioles, and there's only one afternoon game. Oftentimes on Wednesday, you get some getaway days. There's only one. Red Sox and Mariners are having a late afternoon one Eastern time in Seattle. Only one WNBA game even, and no Caitlin Clark in it. So how many of you are going to be interested? Now, college baseball tonight and today.
Hey,
2:00 today, Louisville and Coastal Carolina. I believe if Coastal wins, they're in the final.
that's correct. And they have won 25 straight games heading into today's action.
That's amazing in baseball.
It is absolutely amazing.
They are 55-11, having won 25 in a row. I'll be damned. If Louisville were to win 2:00 on ESPN, then they would play again tomorrow. Winner advances to the finals. 7:00 tonight, ESPN. There will be an SEC team in the college baseball championship because Arkansas and LSU are playing. LSU with a win is in the final. Arkansas with a win forces a rematch tomorrow. Winner is in the final. So if Coastal and LSU both win, by the way, the Baseball World Series is off till Saturday. They'd have 2 full days off. Boy, could you imagine the LSU fan base with a win today having 3 nights in Omaha with no baseball and nothing but drinking? OMG. Wow.
I will say, and obviously LSU will win the battle, but Coastal, with the role they've been on, the little school located in Conway, South Carolina, right near Myrtle Beach, they're not afraid to try to take on LSU in the drinking category. That will be a 3-day party in Omaha if both LSU and Coastal get it done today. 2 and 7 is when the games are scheduled for.
So, where is Lord Stanley's Cup right now?
I believe, by all indications, it's at the Elbow Room on Fort Lauderdale Beach. An acquaintance of mine plays there regularly. He's a good one-man guitar guy. I met him when I was dating my now ex-wife. And he was in Atlanta then. He spent some time in Charlotte, and he's been in Lauderdale for a while. And he was live from the Elbow Room last night on Facebook and live again this morning. He had the 8 a.m. to noon shift after playing 9 to midnight last night. That's kind of like you on a Monday night, Tuesday morning around here, David.
But I've never done a show sitting next to Lord Stanley's Cup.
No.
I'll bet you this will be the most popular 8 a.m. to noon shift he's had there in
maybe a year.
Right. I thought Bettman was actually kind of cool. You know, Gary Bettman seems to me like one of the 10 biggest stiffs in the world. But I thought his pregame interview, I mean, he busted Bissonnette. Okay, some people thought he was being rude. I thought for Gary, that was Gary being lighthearted. All right. But also, he just, said, Captain Sasha Barkov, let's do this again. There you go. Good for you, Gary. By the way, you've had the job over 30 years. You've been commissioner of the NHL longer than David Stern was commissioner of the NBA. When are you going to call it a day? How much more you got to do?
One TV contract.
And I guess another round of expansion?
I wish they'd get away from that, but they seem hell-bent on going to 34, David.
Yeah, I know.
And I just think that that's too many teams for any league. Go look at the best league that we have in this country. They have 32 teams. That's it. That's what you need. The playoffs work right. Everything about it works right. The symmetry is there.
And is there really an American city Now, there may be, you could argue, a few Canadian ones, but is there really an American city clamoring for the NHL?
I tell you what, Portland really wants one. I don't know about clamoring, because I don't think Houston is. I don't think Atlanta is, even though they've got $3 billion towards a new arena.
I don't think Phoenix is. And they had a team.
Right.
And their ownership was terrible. And it's a top 10 market. And it's a pet project of Bettman's. That's why, Mark, I actually think the NHL might go crazy with expansion. I actually think if they do expansion, they might do it on steroids. They may go to 36. Oh, boy. Miller and Moulton. We know what we'll talk about tomorrow, but we have no idea with whom.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. I've been a customer for over a year and cannot say enough good things about their service and communication. If you're a business owner, you can trust Molly Maid to do an exceptional job. Their expert team delivers tailored cleaning for whatever your needs, ensuring a pristine environment for clients and staff. Visit mollymaid.com/FT-Myers or call 239-418-0052. Molly Maid makes my home shine, and it will make your home or business shine too.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
This is Miller and Moulton